I'm in GT, my brother is Broly. Chapter 426 Son Goku's son, Zhai Kou. Yes. Hearing this, Son Gohan nodded immediately. He knows that his current strength is indeed insufficient, and the power of God is indeed more attractive. Thinking of this, Son Gohan didn't hesitate, clasped his fists in a salute and said, Uncle, then I'm going to study the power of God with my aunt now. After finishing speaking, Son Gohan didn't linger any longer, turned around and hurriedly galloped towards Caris where, although Caris and Bupa are not yet married in the true sense, this matter is a certainty. So, Son Gohan doesn't think there's anything wrong with what he said. But precisely because of this, at the moment, the eyes of number 18 and number 21 looking at Bupa are somewhat resentful. After all, they were the first to follow Bupa, but to be honest, they were still the kind that had no place. Bupa. Subconsciously, number 18 opened his mouth and said, Then when are you going to marry us? As soon as these words came out, the 21st also looked at Bupa in anticipation. They didn't care much about the universe crisis, but now they are most concerned about Bupa's attitude. Let's go together. Glancing at the two girls, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, We will hold the wedding together when the wedding is held. When the time comes, I will give you a beautiful wedding scene. 35. Hearing this, number 18 and number 21 laughed immediately. Bupa is willing to give them a wedding, and he is still with Caris, which also means that he values himself. And getting married and becoming a wife is not something that can be compared to the current relationship. Thinking of this, number 21 and Lazuli immediately said, Husband, shall we do something now? Saying that, the two women looked at Bupa with affection. In this regard, Bupa did not refuse, and with the corners of his mouth raised, he took the two daughters into his arms and said, So, how can the husband let the two ladies down? After speaking, Bupa no longer hesitated, and walked directly towards the residence with the two daughters. In the following time, Son Gohan and other Saiyans followed Caris and began to practice the power of God. Bupa is accompanying Lazuli and number 21. Although the crisis of universe is coming, they are extremely indifferent and calm at the moment. Bulma, hurry up, take Goten and them out of here. Son Goku wiped the bloodstains from the corner of his mouth, staring at the figure not far away, his eyes full of dignified colors. In the area beside him, Piccolo, Kling and others were all seriously injured. Even his youngest son Son Goten is bruised at the moment, and the only ones who can move are Son Goku and Bulma. But at the moment, Son Goku's injuries seem to be quite serious, and it is obviously not something that can be solved overnight. I see. Hearing this, Bulma nodded. He knew very well that there was no point in staying, and he couldn't even help Son Goku. Instead, he was a drag. Thinking of this, Bulma quickly stepped forward to help Son Goten and said, Goku, hold on, I will contact Bupa to support you after I go back. Saying that, Bulma took Son Goten and the others and flew towards the outside world. Want to go? At the other end, the youth opposite Son Goku frowned. Looking at Buma and the others who were leaving, he subconsciously raised his hand to gather energy bombs and was about to start. Stop, your opponent is me. Seeing this, Son Goku burst out and rushed to stop it. He didn't want Buma and others to have an accident, and the guy in front of him came to find him, and Son Goku didn't want to involve the others. Stop me? It looks like you're nervous about them, Dad. Seeing this, Zhai Kou smiled slightly, and immediately turned to face Son Goku. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. Impressively, the person who appeared was none other than Son Goku's son, Zhai Kou. It's just that this Zhai Kou is not the son of Son Goku in the true sense, but the bloodline of Son Goku was stolen by the Supreme Kai in the planet Etrad, so he is the main one, created by the gene of the fusion god. Product. But even so, Zhai Kou's power is not something Son Goku can compete with. Even if he has completed the Super 4 transformation, his own combat power has even reached a level close to rank 8. But Son Goku didn't have much resistance when facing Zhai Kou, and he was covered in scars even when the latter obviously released water. Zhai Kou. On the ground, Supreme Kai frowned and said, What are you waiting for? Beat him quickly. 0 for flowers 0. As long as you beat Son Goku, you are the strongest in the universe. 99. Universe is the strongest? Hearing this, Son Goku looked at Supreme Kai on the ground in astonishment and said, When did I become the strongest in universe? Also, you attacked me just for such a name? At this moment, Son Goku was dumbfounded. When the latter appeared, he attacked himself and others, and he thought it was some kind of enemy. But what about now? The man in front of him actually claimed to be the son of his son Goku. That's all. I don't know why the latter said that, but Son Goku didn't care either. But now listening to Supreme Kai's words, the latter attacked himself just to prove that he is the strongest in the universe, which is a bit outrageous. 0. Although Son Goku is confident that he is powerful, the title of the strongest in the universe is not something he can beat. Not to mention an existence beyond the limit like Caris, Bupa, Broly, and even Son Gohan are no match for him. After all, Son Gohan's strength has been greatly improved after fusion Super Saiyan Spirit Blood, and the current Son Goku is really not his opponent. Dad. At this time, Zhai Kou didn't doubt anything. His eyes then focused on Son Goku and said, Come on, I've defeated you. I'm the strongest in the universe. I am your best heir, and the entire universe must be within my notice." Saying that, Zhai Kou shouted and attacked Son Goku. Not good. Seeing this, Son Goku's expression changed drastically. He could clearly feel how terrifying Zhai Kou's blow was, and it even contained extremely terrifying power. If he was hit, the consequences would be unimaginable, and he might even be seriously injured. For a time, Son Goku didn't care about other things, and quickly dodged to avoid Zhai Kou's attack. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, Zhai Kou's attack came quickly. For a time, Son Goku had to dodge quickly, while Zhai Kou became more and more violent, roaring, "Dad, you are the strongest in the universe. Why do you dodge? Dad, take out all your strength to fight with me, and I will defeat you with integrity." 7. Chapter 427 Buma's plea for help. Bupa's anger. Call out. Call out. At the other end, Buma returned to the Universal Capsule Company with Son Goten and others. After arriving, Buma opened the nutrition warehouse immediately and put Son Goten and others in it. Encountered by Zhai Kou's attack, their injuries were quite serious at the moment, and even Piccolo, Klin and others were obviously unable to hold on. However, the number of fairy beans in this world has also been consumed, which also makes them unable to recover directly. After Son Goten and the others were settled, Buma breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately afterwards, she no longer hesitated, and took out the communicator to start contacting the new Vegeta star. With the constant sound of the communicator, Buma's expression became more and more impatient, and he muttered, "Go ahead." "Come on." 99. Bang bang bang. Bupa was having breakfast with Lazuli, 370 number 1, when a rush of footsteps resounded. Immediately afterwards, a Saiyan hurriedly came to the area at the gate and said, "Lord Bupa, there is a request for help from Lord Buma." Buma's message for help. Raising his brows, Bupa immediately stood up from his seat with an ugly expression. Something happened to the earth. What's up with Son Goku? Why wasn't he protected? Not only him, but also Lazuli and number 21 looked ugly at the moment. For Bulma, they were quite hostile before. But after so many years of getting along day and night, their relationship has completely improved. Now that Bulma is in crisis on Earth, and even Son Goku can't solve it, it's definitely not good news. Kaiji. The door opened, and Bupa walked out of the house with Lazuli and number 21. After seeing the Saiyan, Bupa asked, "What is the situation? Speak what you know." 99. Saying yes, Saiyan didn't dare to be negligent, and said quickly, reporting to Lord Bupa, "I just received a distress message from Lord Buma. According to Lord Bulma, a guy who claimed to be the son of Supreme Kai and Son Goku appeared on Earth. After the two appeared, they attacked Son Goku and others, and directly severely injured Piccolo and others, and even Son Goten and others are now in a coma. Besides that, Zhai Kou is extremely powerful, even Son Goku is no match for him, so Lord Bulma wants to ask Lord to go to Earth to solve it." West Supreme Kai. Zhai Kou. Raising his brows, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of astonishment. He knew these two people, but it stands to reason that this time period is not the time when they should appear. After all, according to the development of GT Universe, in this case, it should be the time period when the evil Naturon Shenron was born. But how did Zhai Kou and Zhai Supreme Kai come out so quickly? Is the timeline messed up, or are these two guys not from GT Universe? The multiverse is rampant. Are they from the rest of the universe and just suddenly came into our universe? 99. At this moment, Bupa's face turned serious. Zhai Kou. He knows this person, born with millions of combat power, more terrifying than Quan Zhao. Not only that, Zhai Kou himself contains the genes of God, which also led him to have an extremely huge potential. And according to what he knows, Zhai Kou has completed the transformation of Super Saiyan5. This also means that the latter's power is absolutely unmatched by Son Goku. Even. I see. Taking a deep breath, Bupa came back to his senses, looked at Saiyan and said, "Go and let Broly come to see me." 5! With a promise, Saiyan didn't dare to neglect, turned around and hurried towards the area where Broly was. "Bupa, are you going to Earth? Bupa, how can we go together?" At this time, Lazuli and number 21 looked at Bupa expectantly, their eyes filled with eagerness. They all want to go to Earth to see who is so arrogant and domineering. They don't care about the so-called Supreme Kai of the West, but Son Goku's son is so powerful, which is really surprising news. In this regard, Bupa refused without hesitation. He is very aware of Zhai Kou's strength. Although he can easily crush him, Bupa doesn't want number 21 and Lazuli to take risks. Thinking of this, Bupa immediately said, "Just West Supreme Kai and Zhai Kou, they are not enough to threaten my existence. However, this time, the whole Earth may collapse along with it, so you should not go with you." Lazuli, number 21, you stay here and continue to build artificial Saiyan. The best one is to build a whole batch of Saiyan. Although there are quite a lot of complete superhuman race gods created in the past, it seems that it is still far from enough. 35. After completing the cultivation of artificial Saiyan, I will send it into the time house, and then ensure that there is a steady stream of full-body Super Saiyan born to maintain the peace of the entire universe. 5. Hearing this, Lazuli and number 21 were stunned. Bupa's words were understated, but they still heard the danger and difficulty. This also means that this matter is likely to be extremely serious, and that even the super race God created before is not enough to deal with. I see. I will definitely finish it as soon as possible. Looking at each other, Lazuli and number 21 were not holding on to anything. They all knew that if it weren't for the seriousness of the matter, Bupa couldn't refuse. But now that Bupa has talked about this, the seriousness of the matter is self-evident. Thinking of this, the second daughter no longer hesitated, and said directly, "Bupa, let's start now." "Yes, we are going to train new Saiyan now." After saying 0.7, the second daughter didn't stay any longer, turned around and hurriedly galloped in the direction of the laboratory. Seeing this, Bupa had a knowing smile on his face. The two girls didn't make trouble unreasonably, which was good news for him. "Big brother." At this time, there was a sound. Looking at the sound, I could see that Broly came hurriedly. Not only him, Son Gohan also followed at this moment. His face was extremely serious and ugly. Obviously, Son Gohan already knew what happened on Earth, and at this moment he couldn't concentrate on cultivating in the new Vegeta star. Seeing this, Bupa has nothing to blame. It's good to take Son Gohan to see the power of Zhai Kou, and maybe this time is a good opportunity. Chapter 428 Arrive on Earth, Son Gohan vs Zhai Kou. After the people were assembled, Bupa didn't plan to stay any longer. After looking at each other, Bupa said, "You grab me, we're heading to Earth now." Yes. With a promise, Son Gohan and Broly on the side immediately stepped forward and grabbed Xuan King's shoulders. The next second, Bupa immediately launched instant transmission and disappeared from the spot. Zizzy, Space Shake, Bupa arrives at Magnum Capsules with Son Gohan and Broly. Bupa exclamation mark 99. Bulma, who had been waiting for a long time, came forward in an instant. After arriving at the area beside Bupa and the others, Buma breathed a sigh of relief. Bulma. After returning to his senses, Bupa stepped forward and glanced at Buma. After making sure she wasn't injured, Bupa breathed a sigh of relief. At least Bulma is safe, which means Son Goku can still protect her. Thinking of this, Bupa took out a few immortal beans and threw them to Buma Road. "Buma, go and give the immortal beans to Son Goten and others to eat." 99. We're going straight to the area where Son Goku is now. It is good. With a promise, Bulma didn't hesitate, quickly took the fairy beans and ran towards the distance. She knew very well how bad things were going with Son Goten and others. If the immortal beans can't be eaten as soon as possible, then the power of the nutrient warehouse is simply not enough to repair it. After Bulma left, Bupa immediately looked at Broly and Son Gohan and said, let's go and see." "Yes, $7 exclamation mark 9. As soon as they agreed, the two no longer hesitated, and followed Bupa quickly towards the area where Son Goku was. The latter's breath is extremely strong, and they can clearly perceive it. At the same time, in the battle area at the moment, Son Goku immediately launched a tenfold Kaioken with a loud shout. In an instant, Son Goku's strength increased tenfold. Under such circumstances, Zhai Kou, who was caught off guard, was knocked back with one punch. "This power, Dad, this power is really good." When his figure stabilized, Zhai Kou looked at Son Goku in surprise, his eyes full of joy. Similar to Kaioken's method, he can't, but he can also feel the difference after the tenfold increase in combat power. Kaioken. On the ground, West Supreme Kai frowned at the moment. She can clearly feel what kind of skill this power is, and even more clearly that this is the method that the Realm King can cultivate. Son Goku was able to perform it, which really surprised her. But soon, Supreme Kai calmed down, looked at Son Goku indifferently and said, "But with just this power, you are still not Zhai Kou's opponent. Zhai Kou, give me the opportunity to defeat him as soon as possible." "Yes, Mum." With a promise, Zhai Kou no longer hesitated at this moment, and immediately accelerated his speed and attacked Son Goku. Battle 95. Seeing this situation, Son Goku is not afraid. Seeing Zhai Kou attack, he immediately went to meet him. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. As the battle between the two became more and more intense, the entire area was rapidly collapsing and disintegrating. But even so, Son Goku is getting weaker and weaker. For nothing else, the gap between the two sides is really too big, which also caused him to be unable to help the other party at all. And Zhai Kou felt Son Goku's strength increased, and he also increased his strength to attack, which also led to the stage where Son Goku was still passively beaten. Good. On the ground, West Supreme Kai saw this scene and was overjoyed. Son Goku was completely suppressed, and it looked like she was about to fail, which meant her plan was going to succeed. After defeating Son Goku, Zhai Kou will be the strongest existence in the universe. Then, call out. At this time, the sound of breaking the air resounded. In the next second, the figures of Bupa, Son Goku and Broly appeared in the area of the arena. For the first time, Supreme Kai looked at Bupa and the three of them with a wary expression. He could clearly feel a dangerous aura, and even under the coverage of this aura, his whole body could not help shaking. West Supreme Kai. Seeing the figure standing there, Bupa's eyes flashed, and then he said, Broly, go and help Son Goku. 99. Yes, yes. With a promise, Son Gohan and Broly immediately understood what Bupa meant. The latter asks them to assist Son Goku, which means he will take on the Supreme Kai himself. Immediately, Son Gohan and Broly no longer hesitated, and rushed towards the battlefield. Dad! With a low roar, Son Goku turned into Super Saiyan 4 directly, then entered the area of the arena and punched Zhai Kou. You are Son Gohan. Seeing the person coming, Zhai Kou raised his brows and said with a hint of interest in his eyes, You are my brother. Exactly. Let me see how your strength is. Saying that, Zhai Kou was not attacking Son Goku. He turned around and raised his fist to face Son Gohan. The next second, the fists of the two collided in midair. With a loud bang, both Son Gohan and Zhai Kou were shaken. Immediately afterwards, the figures of the two flew out at 370 degrees, and after they stabilized, a trace of blood dripped from the corners of their mouths. Son Goku was overjoyed when he saw the person coming. Immediately afterwards, his eyes were full of surprise, and he said in disbelief, Gohan, how can your strength become so much stronger? 35. Son Goku knows very well how strong Son Gohan is. Even in the previous situation, Son Gohan was no match for him. How long has it been? Just a few days. Why has Son Gohan's strength increased so much all of a sudden? Son Goku. At this time, Broly arrived at Son Goku, took out a fairy bin and threw it to him. Now Son Gohan has fused the Super Saiyan blood. His bloodline has been greatly evolved, and his strength has surpassed yours. Super Race Spirit Blood. Bloodline Evolution. Nodding suddenly, Son Goku understood what was going on. For a time, Son Goku also swallowed the celestial bins quickly without caring about the others. After the fairy bins were eaten, Son Goku's injury also recovered as before. Immediately afterwards, he looked at the two tit-for-tat players on the court, and said, Broly, who do you think is stronger, Gohan or Zhai Kou? Zhai Kou. Looking at Son Goku, Broly pondered slightly. After all, Son Gohan has transformed, but Zhai Kou is still the normal power. Chapter 429 Battle of Brothers. Broly full of fighting spirit. Hearing this, Son Goku fell silent. Although shocked by Son Gohan's strength, he had to admit that Broly's words made sense. Even before he showed the ability to transform, Zhai Kou's power was already so powerful. It doesn't even seem to be on a par with Son Gohan. If this allows him to perform a transformation, even if it is a Super 4 transformation, it is not something Son Gohan can match. Thinking of this, Son Goku scratched his head in embarrassment and said, That's true. Speaking of which, I can't even beat him normally. But what's the situation? Why does he say he's my son? Hearing this, Broly also frowned. Just like Son Goku's doubts, this is what makes him feel surprised and puzzled. Such a powerful Zhai Kou, why would he pretend to be Son Goku's son? If it's true, then why doesn't Son Goku know? But if it's fake, what is Zhai Kou's purpose? Look first. 99. After a little pondering, Broly quickly made a decision. In the current situation, it is not easy for us to continue to intervene. Let Son Gohan try him first, just to see how Son Gohan is doing during this time. And the big brother has locked the Supreme Kai. If nothing else, we will know what the situation is very soon. Hearing this, Son Goku subconsciously looked at the location not far away. After seeing Bupa, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief, and the corner of his mouth raised. Master Bupa is here, then this matter will not be a big problem. With the power of Lord Bupa, neither Supreme Kai nor Zhai Kou can be his opponent. Rest assured, Son Goku is no longer worried. After taking a deep breath, he turned his eyes to the infield area and shouted, Gohan, Zhai Kou has not transformed yet. Try to test out his full power. Hearing this, Son Gohan frowned. Didn't transform? Is Zhai Kou really his father's son? His own brother? Subconsciously, Son Gohan raised his head and said, Zhai Kou, are you also Saiyan? Certainly. The corner of his mouth rose. Zhai Kou fixed his eyes on Son Gohan and said, Yes, my brother, your strength is indeed very good, and you even make me feel stronger than my father. But this should be impossible. My mother told me that my father is the strongest in universe, and it is logically impossible for you to surpass him. What? Dad is the strongest in universe? Hearing this, Son Gohan was dumbfounded, gave Zhai Kou a weird look, and then said, Is your mother a Western Supreme Kai? Why does he think Dad is the strongest in universe? The strongest in universe is obviously the uncle. At this moment, not only Son Gohan, but also Son Goku and Broly in the side area were all curious. Universe is the strongest. This title is not easy. You know, the most powerful ones in the universe are Bupa and Caris. In a sense, Caris is even stronger than Bupa. But now Zhai Kou believes that the strongest is Son Goku, which has to make people suspicious and curious. Son Goku. 99. Subconsciously, Broly then asked, You don't tell everyone else that you are the strongest, do you? How is this possible? Hearing this, Son Goku shook his head and said directly, I've never said such a thing, and after seeing you and my eldest brother, I am even more aware of my weakness. How can I claim to be the strongest? Hearing this, Broly frowned and said immediately, that's weird. This guy is so sure and convinced. That's what Supreme Kai has always felt. But what's the situation? Why didn't they know Big Brother existed? Uncle? Hearing this, Zhai Kou frowned, looked at Son Gohan in confusion and said, isn't Uncle Raditz? I remember that Raditz was just a scumbag with more than 1000 combat power, and my mother said that she was killed by my father a long time ago. If that's the case, why do you think the latter is the strongest in universe? 99. Hearing this, Son Gohan's mouth twitched. The eldest brother he was referring to was Bupa, the eldest brother that Son Goku recognized, not the one by blood. Thinking of this, Son Gohan didn't continue to explain anything, just shook his head and said, no, the uncle I am talking about is not Raditz. 35. But about the uncle, we'll talk about it later, and I'm curious now about your full power. 35. Zhai Kou, let me see your power after your transformation. Saying that, Son Gohan looked at Zhai Kou expectantly. He was very curious about what the latter could look like. Transform? Glancing at Son Gohan, Zhai Kou shook his head and said, no, my brother, you are not enough to transform me, and the power after my transformation is difficult for me to grasp. If you are not careful, you will be killed. The most important thing is that I can feel the limit of your current strength. Although Wireless is close to me, it is not my opponent. What? Hearing this, the expressions of Son Gohan, Broly and Son Goku all changed drastically. They didn't think Zhai Kou was lying. Those clear eyes declared that Zhai Kou was not an evil and scheming person. This also means that what he said is true. If this is the case, doesn't it mean that Zhai Kou's power is really powerful to a terrifying level? Gohan. Thinking of this, Broly immediately became excited and said, go all out. 55. If you can't help him, then let me come. At this moment, Broly was in high spirits. He didn't know where Zhai Kou's limit was, but he also understood that the latter would definitely reach the point of threatening him. Such an opponent is absolutely impossible for Broly to meet. You must know, good Zows, in the main universe, apart from those who can't be beaten, there are not many remaining strengths similar to him. Now he has found an opponent who is not inferior to himself in GT universe, which is something he absolutely does not want to miss. It is good. With a promise, Son Gohan understood that Broly was fighting. But why isn't he so? Since fusion of Jiaoshan's blood, he has also been very clear that he is the most powerful existence other than Bupa, Broly and Caris. Now that someone has finally come, and it is likely to be his younger brother, how could he miss it? Zhai Kou, come to fight. With a loud shout, Son Gohan immediately jumped out of the spot and attacked Zhai Kou without hesitation. Good come. Seeing this situation, Zhai Kou was not afraid at all, and immediately went forward with a laugh. In the next second, the two figures fought fiercely in the arena. Chapter 430 The Origin of the West Supreme Kai. The Invasion of the Off-World. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. In an instant, the battle between the two figures in midair intensified. As time went by, Son Gohan's power continued to increase, and the blood of the Super Saiyan God in his body was also boiling rapidly. And Zhai Kou is also wary. As Son Gohan's strength continued to increase, he also felt a little pressure. It is precisely because of this that Zhai Kou's bellicose heart that belongs to Saiyan is completely activated. For a time, the two figures were madly fighting together in midair. Countless fist shadows intersected, and everything they passed was reduced to ruins. West Supreme Kai. At this time, Bupa has also come to the area where Supreme Kai is located. After looking at her sizingly, the corner of Bupa's mouth rose and said, get to know me, my name is Bupa. Bupa? Brows raised, Supreme Kai gave Bupa a puzzled look. As far as he knew, there was no Bupa in the universe at all. And not just Bupa, but Son Gohan's power is far from unexpected. As far as she knows, Son Gohan is good, but he is not Son Goku's opponent, let alone Zhai Kou's opponent. But now the situation is completely different. According to the current situation, Son Gohan's power far surpasses Son Goku. The most important thing is that both Bupa and Broly make her feel the threat of death, and in a sense, they are not inferior to Zhai Kou. Thinking of this, Zhai Supreme Kai couldn't help but say, who the hell are you? As far as I know, Saiyan has only Son Goku, Vegeta, Son Gohan, Son Goten and Trunks. Even if there is still Saiyan on Earth, it is Bula and Son Xiaofang. Son Xiaofang. With a twinkle in his eyes, Bupa smiled now. He can now almost conclude that the Supreme Kai in front of him is not the one in the GT universe. That is to say, his memory is not wrong. The appearance of the latter and Zhai Kou is only caused by the runaway of the multi-dimensional universe. That is to say, the Western Supreme Kai in GT universe still exists, and Zhai Kou is likely to have been born, but it has not yet reached such a point. Thinking of this, Bupa smiled even more, glanced at West Supreme Kai and said, West Supreme Kai, is the universe Son Goku where you are dead already? What? Ka, I am dead? Hearing this, Son Goku in the area not far away was stunned, and his face was completely unbelievable. On the contrary, Broly was refreshed at the moment, and seemed to think of something. She is not from this universe. 35. No wonder Zhai Kou knows that Son Goku is the strongest. It turns out that there is no big brother or me in that universe. Hearing this, Son Goku was dumbfounded. Does not belong to the whole universe. Is it that Supreme Kai and Zhai Kou are the rest of the universe's own wives and sons? Thinking of this, Son Goku subconsciously said, Broly, does the rest of the universe really exist? Good. Taking a look at Son Goku, Broly didn't hide anything, and simply talked about the rampage of the main universe and the multiverse universe. After all, this matter is very important. The previous Son Goku came to Earth because he was worried that Bupa would fail, which caused him to not know these things. But now that Bupa has persuaded Caris, Broly doesn't have to hide anything. Moreover, Son Goku is also one of the main fighting forces, and needs to broaden his horizons to help him become stronger quickly and become Bupa's helper. Sigh. The multiverse is rampant. Lord Universe, Angel, Gods of Destruction, Zeno. After listening to Broly's story, Son Goku couldn't help taking a deep breath. Never thought that this matter would be so serious. The most incredible thing for him is that in addition to the future world, there are other parallel universes. For a moment, Son Goku clenched his fists subconsciously and said, unfortunately, I should have gone with my eldest brother back then. If I also go to the main universe, maybe I can become stronger. Speaking of which, Son Goku's eyes were full of longing when Broly just talked about it. He also explained the concept of Super Saiyan by the way, which made Son Goku extremely curious and looking forward to it. It doesn't have to be. He waved his hand, and Broly in the area on the side said indifferently, Sister-in-law Caris will give pointers on the cultivation of divine power. I thought you would go back after staying on Earth for a few days, and then let you practice with Son Gohan and the others. I didn't expect such a thing to happen on the Earth. After this thing is over, you can go and practice the power of God with Mrs. Caris. Sister-in-law. Raising his brows, Son Goku was dumbfounded and said in disbelief, you mean the big brother took that female angel? For a moment, Son Goku looked at Bupa in admiration. For nothing else, he saw the power of Caris. Although he did not read the entire process, he also understood the horror of Caris. But even such a powerful female angel has actually become a woman of Bupa, which is really... No. He's not dead. 35. Hearing this, Supreme Kai frowned and said, Son Goku should have followed Shenron to the heavenly dragon god realm. 35. Speaking of this, Supreme Kai seemed to think of something, and his body shook and said, wait a minute, you said the world I am in. 39. Isn't the world I'm coming to now the world I'm in? In an instant, West Supreme Kai's face turned ashen. As Supreme Kai, she is also aware of the existence of a parallel universe. He had wondered why Son Goku existed before, even so much weaker. But now it seems that is not the case at all. I am not in my universe at all. How can I find the Son Goku who was brought into the Tangle God realm? Heavenly Dragon God realm. With a twinkle in his eyes, Bupa's inner breathing quickened. He can conclude that the West Supreme Kai and Zhai Kou in front of him are from the F-world. The F-world is one of the parallel universes of Dragon Ball, and the combat power is also extremely powerful and terrifying. According to the records, the limit of that universe is Super Saiyan5, and even if there is a higher level transformation, it just hasn't been revealed. This also means that if he can capture Zhai Supreme Kai, maybe he can get the coordinates to go to the F-world. The main thing is that this sort of thing has happened within GT universe as well. Although the evil Naturon Shenron has not yet appeared, if nothing else, there are Zhai Kou and Zhai Supreme Kai in the universe, and there is also the existence of the Dragon God realm. You must know that the evil dragons in the Dragon God realm that day were also extremely powerful, even in large numbers. Chapter 431 Terrified West Supreme Kai, Son Gohan defeat. West Supreme Kai. It took a long time for Bupa to calm down. The origin of the latter has been determined, but now he has no sympathy. The latter does not belong to its own universe, and that is the intruder. If it cannot be obliterated, it will inevitably lead to unnecessary consequences. It's okay to say that Zhai Kou, at most, his mind is too simple and he is used as a flag by the Supreme Kai of the West. Since the Supreme Kai can do it, Bupa doesn't think he can't. The latter's potential even surpasses everyone he knows. The born Super Saiyan5, which is an existence that should not be underestimated. As long as he is properly cultivated, Zhai Kou's future potential may even reach the level of a big angel or even a grand priest. Thinking of this, the corners of Bupa's mouth rose. I need to find you, pick up something, borrow things? With a frown, Supreme Kai looked at Bupa in confusion. What do you want to borrow? What? As he spoke, Supreme Kai looked alert, and subconsciously activated his mind-reading technique to look at Bupa. The next second, Supreme Kai's expression changed greatly. He quickly pulled back and said, damn, you actually want to kill me? I'm God, I'm Supreme Kai, you mere people dare to shoot at me. Dream. Mind-reading. Seeing this situation, Bupa was stunned for a moment, and then quickly reacted. But Bupa, who followed closely behind, sneered. How about mind-reading? In the face of absolute power, so-called mind-reading has no meaning. West Supreme Kai, you can't get away. 39. One step forward, Bupa's figure instantly appeared in the West Supreme Kai. Immediately afterwards, Bupa shot out without hesitation, and hit Supreme Kai with a punch. With a scream, Zhai Supreme Kai fell to the ground, blood spurted out of his mouth, his face turned pale, and he stared at Bupa and said, "This is instant transmission? How can you be an instant transmission by a mere human, and it is an instant transmission that only Supreme Kai can perform?" At this moment, West Supreme Kai was desperate. The moment Bupa shot, she felt the gap between the two sides. It was an absolute gap that was completely insurmountable and incomparable. In addition, Bupa will also perform the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission, which means that she has almost no possibility of escaping. Thinking of this, Zhai Supreme Kai's eyes were full of unwillingness, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Zhai Kou, come and save me." As soon as these words came out, Zhai Kou, who was fighting Son Gohan in the distance, was stunned. After seeing the situation of Bupa and Supreme Kai, Zhai Kou's face changed greatly. Immediately afterwards, he didn't care about anything else. He turned around quickly and wanted to come to the rescue. Where to go? "Zhai Kou, stay with me." Seeing this situation, how could Son Gohan let him get his wish? With a loud shout, Son Gohan jumped out and attacked Zhai Kou. "Go away." Seeing this situation, Zhai Kou has no intention of wasting time with Son Gohan. The main thing now is to rescue West Supreme Kai. He could clearly feel the wave of terror emanating from Bupa. Because of this, Zhai Kou knew very well that Supreme Kai could not be his opponent, and if he was delayed, Supreme Kai would probably die so fast. His pupils shrank, and Son Gohan's expression changed drastically. He could feel the strength of Zhai Kou's attack, which was definitely not comparable to the casual attack before. Not caring about anything else, Son Gohan quickly raised his hand to block. 35. The next second, Zhai Kou's fist hit Son Gohan's arm. What? The screams resounded, and blood spurted out of Son Gohan's mouth. Immediately afterwards, his entire figure was knocked out from the air by Zhai Kou with a punch, and he smashed to the ground and splashed a large piece of dust. Obviously, he is no match for Zhai Kou at all. Even though Zhai Kou hasn't shown any transformation yet, his 10th order power is not comparable to the current Son Gohan. So strong. 99. Gohan. Seeing this, Son Goku and Broly's faces showed surprise. Immediately afterwards, Broly dodged and appeared in the area in front of Zhai Kou and said, "Zhai Kou, your opponent is me. I won't let you disturb my brother's affairs." 35. As he spoke, Broly suddenly launched Super Saiyan4 to transform, and his aura reached the level of the late 12th order. Immediately afterwards, Broly kicked out, and directly kicked Zhai Kou, who was caught off guard, and flew out. 0 flowers 0. On the other end, Son Goku has also arrived in Son Gohan's area. After quickly lifting it up from the ground, Son Goku and Son Gohan both saw the scene of Zhai Kou being kicked away by Broly. So strong. What a terrifying power. 35. Watching this scene blankly, Son Gohan and Son Goku subconsciously exclaimed, their eyes filled with wonder and yearning. At that moment, the breath from Broly made them all tremble. That terrifying power is completely unmatched by them, not even by Zhai Kou. Damn. At this moment, a roar resounded. Looking at the sound, you can clearly see Zhai Kou's figure flying up from the ground. His body is quite embarrassed. Blood is overflowing from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes are staring at Broly. Who are you? With such a powerful force, this is not at all comparable to Dad and Big Brother. 35. Who the hell are you? The strongest person in universe is obviously your father. How could you have such power? At this moment, Zhai Kou only felt that his three views had collapsed. Son Goku is definitely the most powerful existence in his memory, but now he has become a foil. Not only is the power inferior to Son Gohan, but there is even a presence that is stronger than Son Gohan, and even he himself is terrified. My name is Broly. Glancing at Zhai Kou, Broly raised the corner of his mouth and said, you can also call me the legendary Super Saiyan. Your strength is indeed good, but it is impossible to leave my hands. If you want to disturb my eldest brother, then defeat me, otherwise you can't pass in front of my eyes today. Damn tilde apostrophe. Hearing this, Zhai Kou's face instantly turned ashen. He understood that what Broly said could not be false, and it was because of this that it was even more difficult for him to accept it at the moment. Especially when the situation of Supreme Kai in the West is so bad at the moment, how can he continue to delay? Okay, I'll beat you first. Taking a deep breath, Zhai Kou resisted the impatience and anger in his heart, and immediately followed with a low growl. Ha 7. Chapter 432. The Birth of Super Saiyan 5. The confident Zhai Kou. With the white gas gushing out from Zhai Kou's body, the entire earth vibrated violently at this moment. This breath, this volatility, this scene immediately made Broly, Son Goku and Son Gohan exclaim. For nothing else, they could clearly feel what Zhai Kou's transformation represented this time. It is more clear what this transformation means. It is not the transformation of the Super 4, but the Super Saiyan 5 that is above the Super 4. And as far as they know, the only one Super Saiyan 5 can transform into is Bupa. Even Broly has no clue about this, and there is no chance to transform into Super Saiyan 5 at all. But what about now? Zhai Kou actually wants to transform into Super Saiyan 5, how can this not surprise and shock them? Sankis. Subconsciously, the eyes of the three of them all focused on Zhai Kou, and their eyes were full of anticipation for nothing else. If all this is true, then once Zhai Kou completes the transformation of Super Saiyan 5, he will be the second existence to complete this form. The most important thing is that Broly also wants to try out the power of this Super Saiyan 5, can it match or surpass itself? Haha. This scene directly made the West Supreme Kai on the ground in the distance laugh out loud. After feeling the surging aura of Zhai Kou, she was overjoyed and said, "It's done. My son did not let me down. He has surpassed Son Goku, surpassed everyone beyond the transformation of Super 4, as long as he is completed. He is the real strongest in the universe." As he said that, Supreme Kai looked at Bupa proudly and said, "See, my son is the strongest existence in universe. You still dare to attack me? If you dare to take action against me, then it will be your turn when my son has dealt with the guys over there." At this moment, West Supreme Kai was full of self-confidence and did not think that Bupa would dare to continue to shoot himself. Yes, hearing this, Bupa laughed. "Super Saiyan 5, if you just want to be the strongest in the universe, that's a joke." Moreover, although Zhai Kou's basic combat power has reached the level of 10th rank, but after completing Super Saiyan 5, he will be at about 12th rank. The weakness of his own basic combat power directly led to the fact that even if he completed the transformation of Super Saiyan 5, his strength could not even help Broly in the Super 4 state. It is even more impossible to say that it threatens oneself. Thinking of this, Bupa glanced down at the West Supreme Kai on the ground and said, "Zhai Kou is Zhai Kou, you are you. It doesn't mean that he is strong enough to make you unscrupulous. And you think Super Saiyan 5 will be able to get me? As Saiyan, do you think I'll be transformed into this Super Saiyan 5? What?" Hearing this, West Supreme Kai on the ground was dumbfounded. She looked at Bupa in disbelief, and when she saw the playful and mocking eyes of the latter, she panicked. Checking Bupa mind reading, she tries to figure out if it's true or not. But soon, West Supreme Kai got the answer he didn't want to get. That is, Bupa will really transform into Super Saiyan 5, and the latter's power is far from Zhai Kou's match. "No, I don't believe it. How is this possible?" For a time, the West Supreme Kai collapsed. I thought it was enough for Zhai Kou to complete the transformation of Super Saiyan 5 this time, and he could even save all the threats. But what about now? The information she got from Bupa's heart made her completely desperate. The two sides were not at the same level at all, and even Zhai Kou might not even be able to beat Broly. For a time, West Supreme Kai was desperate. Her own work has failed like this, and she is likely to die here. How can she accept it? At the other end, Zhai Kou's transformation has been completed. With a low roar resounding, the white brilliance shot straight into the sky. The next second, it can be seen that Zhai Kou has white hair and white eyes. But no hair grows, and the whole person looks majestic. At this moment, the aura around Zhai Kou's body was violent, and his power was directly raised from the late 10th stage to the late 12th stage. Incredible, Zhai Kou's transformation has actually reached such a level. Isn't Super Saiyan 5 really that powerful? Watching this scene blankly, Son Goku and Son Gohan on the ground were stunned. They couldn't believe what they saw. It was completely beyond their expectations. So shocking. It was so shocking. You know, Super Saiyan 4 is only a few 100,000 times more powerful. But Zhai Kou's Super Saiyan 5 transformation this time. The improved combat power is calculated in billions. It's not right. How can it improve so much? Broly also frowned. He can remember the improvement after Bupa completed the Super Saiyan 5 transformation. Although it is also very powerful, it is also an increase of 10 million times the level, and it has not reached the level of 100 million times the combat power. But now Zhai Kou has achieved it, and even actually completed it, which is unbelievable, even unbelievable. Destroy me. At this time, Zhai Kou ignored this. After completing his transformation, he attacked Broly without hesitation. He knew very well that he had to defeat Broly as soon as possible, and only in this way could he go to rescue Supreme Kai. It's good to come. Seeing this, Broly laughed. Although Zhai Kou's Super 5 transformation is surprising, even unexpected, but Broly is not afraid of anything. The latter's current strength is almost 0.7 to himself. But Zhai Kou has done his best, but Broly has not even shown half of his own strength. Thinking of this, the corner of Broly's mouth rose, and he did not rush to complete the transformation of Quan Jiao, but directly greeted Zhai Kou and said, "Come on, let me see what you use to defeat me. If you just talk, then you pay for your words and your actions." 5. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. Rumbling, a deafening roar resounded, and two figures could clearly be seen fighting fiercely in midair. In just a few breaths, Zhai Kou and Broly have already fought hundreds of tricks, but on the whole, Broly still holds the top score, while Zhai Kou is extremely passively beaten. Chapter 433 Fear of the West Supreme Kai. Zhai Kou is furious. Staring blankly at this scene, Son Goku and Son Gohan on the ground were dumbfounded. They clearly felt Zhai Kou's strength and terror. But even Zhai Kou, who transformed into Super Saiyan 5, is not Broly's opponent, which is really unexpected to them. Basic combat power. After a while, Son Gohan was the first to come back to his senses, clenching his fists and said, "Sure enough, what I am pursuing should be the improvement of the basic combat power, not the so-called Super Saiyan 5 transformation." As soon as these words came out, Son Goku was also refreshed. Indeed, the basic combat power is the most important. After all, the gap between Zhai Kou and Broly can be seen from the current situation. Zhai Kou's Super 5, Broly's Super 4, logically speaking. The two sides are completely incomparable. But just because Broly's basic combat power is strong enough, this also makes Zhai Kou not his opponent even if he transforms into a Super 5. Thinking of this, Son Goku is also full of confidence. Although his transformation ability may not be as good as Zhai Kou, or even as Son Gohan, but as long as his basic combat power is strong enough, he can have a combat power that rivals it. 20 Now that Broly has the upper hand with the Super 4 against the Super 5, Zhai Kou is the best illustration. Thinking of this, Son Goku subconsciously looked at Son Gohan and said, "Gohan, how is the power of God you learned?" Saying that, Son Goku's eyes were full of curiosity for the power of God. Son Goku is still quite concerned and curious in his heart. After all, it is a brand new power, and according to what Broly said before, it can still be superimposed with the Super 4 after completing the transformation of the Super Race God. In this case, the superposition of each other is not inferior to the increase brought by the Super 5. Not many clues. With a bitter smile, Son Gohan said helplessly, "Although Anka has taught me very carefully, it is difficult for us to grasp this new power. If Dad wants to study, then we can go to study with Aunt Carlisle together. But before that, Dad, you'd better ask your uncle to give you a drop of Kasai spirit blood." 35. Then the Super Race spirit blood will allow you to master the power of the gods as soon as possible, and it will also allow the bloodline to evolve, and the basic combat power will also be strengthened to a certain extent. Super Saiyan spirit? Nodding thoughtfully, Son Goku was also firm at the moment. He understands that Son Gohan's words are true. After all, the latter's strength has been greatly improved after he obtained the blood of Jiaoshan. Thinking of this, Son Goku subconsciously looked at the area where Bupa was not far away, and murmured, "Let's go find Lord Bupa after this matter is over." 35. Nothing is impossible. The corner of Bupa's mouth rose, and he glanced at the Supreme Kai on the ground, his eyes full of ridicule and killing intent. Having determined the latter situation, he does not intend to keep the West Supreme Kai. After all, anyone who has read the original book knows that Supreme Kai is not a good guy, and in the final analysis it is just a psychological problem. Although West Supreme Kai looks good, but to be honest, Bupa really has no interest in it. Thinking of this, Bupa stepped forward and said, "See Supreme Kai, since you already know it, you should also know what I want to get." As he spoke, Bupa walked towards the West Supreme Kai. "No, don't come here." Seeing this situation, Zhai Supreme Kai panicked. She knew exactly what Bupa wanted, and even more so when she got caught. Subconsciously, Zhai Supreme Kai mobilized his own power to escape from this place. However, the reality is cruel. Before the West Supreme Kai action, Bupa raised his hand first. In the next second, the power of time imprisonment erupted. In an instant, West Supreme Kai was imprisoned in place, and the whole person could not even speak basic words. After all, what Bupa is imprisoning is time, which also makes it impossible for Western Supreme Kai to break free. Da. The footsteps resounded, and Bupa had arrived at the location of the West Supreme Kai. Glancing at the imprisoned West Supreme Kai, he immediately raised his hand and pressed it on her forehead, muttering, "I know you won't cooperate with me. If that's the case, then I will personally look for the answer I want from your memory." 33. After speaking, Bupa no longer hesitated, and immediately started the secret technique to read the memory of West Supreme Kai. For a time, the screams of West Supreme Kai resounded. It can be clearly seen that Zhai Supreme Kai's entire body began to tremble at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the case of memory being captured, West Supreme Kai is in pain, but she has no resistance. This scene immediately made Zhai Kou in the distance anxious. He could see that Supreme Kai was in extreme pain right now, and he knew better that he had to go to the rescue as soon as possible. For a time, Zhai Kou didn't care about anything else, and increased the output of his power to continuously attack Broly in front of him. However, his attack had no effect. As the battle continued to break out, Broly's power also continued to increase. This also caused Zhai Kou's power to have no effect in front of Broly, and there was no possibility of escape at all. "Do not go away from me." 99. Seeing that Broly is difficult to defeat in a short period of time, and Supreme Kai of the West is in excruciating pain, Zhai Kou is also completely anxious at this moment. He kept attacking 373 Broly, even his eyes were red like a beast that lost his mind. Madness. Seeing this, Broly snorted coldly and said, "Beasts that lose their minds are not worthy of my opponent." "Zhai Kou, if you want to save people, then defeat me directly, otherwise, there is no possibility for you to leave this place today." While speaking, Broly's movements were not slow, and the extremely easy boxing techniques began to be activated under his control. A steady stream of punches hit Zhai Kou's body. What? For a time, Zhai Kou also screamed again and again. Extremely easy boxing is one of the divine skills, and it is aimed at attacks within the body. This also caused Zhai Kou's defense to have no effect, and even caused him to become a target in front of Broly. Seeing this, both Son Goku and Son Gohan couldn't help taking a deep breath. For nothing else, the situation in front of him is really too shocking. As far as the current situation is concerned, Broly and Zhai Kou's strengths are almost the same, but they are also crushing each other in the audience, which is unbelievable. At the same time, Son Goku and Son Gohan also looked to the area where Bupa was. They don't know why Bupa wants to attack the Supreme Kai. The latter's power is not strong, even. Chapter 434 West Supreme Kai Self-Destruction, Super 5 Full Power. Not just them, including Broly is also quite puzzled at the moment. The power of the Western Supreme Kai is around level 7, although it is a huge threat to ordinary people. But there is no threat to them. But why does Bupa seem to pay more attention to her, but Zhai Kou doesn't seem to cause the latter to care? Under such circumstances, the screams of West Supreme Kai became weaker and weaker. As her screams stopped abruptly, Bupa's closed eyes also opened. Found it. The corner of his mouth rose. Bupa looked at the dying Supreme Kai on the ground, and the corner of his mouth rose. I really didn't expect that you are still a virgin. The birth of Zhai Kou, I thought you were self-bred, but I didn't expect it to be artificially created. No wonder you have been using him without any burden. Authoring him is just a product of your creation, not really your son. With the West Supreme Kai's memory taken by him, Bupa has also learned all the latter's secrets. Except for the coordinates of the F-world, Bupa also learned a lot about the secrets within the F-world. For example, the Heavenly Dragon God Realm. The world above the Supreme Kai world seems out of reach or even inaccessible, but in fact there are still possibilities and skills to break into it. Not only that, according to Supreme Kai's memory, Shenron in the Dragon God Realm that day can be transformed into a human form. And those Shenron have been waiting for the new king to be born, and the person they used to follow is the legendary Dragon God Salama. That is to say, as long as he enters the Heavenly Dragon God Realm to subdue those Shenrons before Salama's resurrection, the Shenrons that exist in each universe will become his subordinates and helpers. Not only that, once you become the king of Shenron, you can also get a special power to strengthen yourself. However, Supreme Kai didn't know what that special power was, but he was extremely eager to get it. It is because of this that Supreme Kai will take Zhai Kou to Earth in an attempt to capture the Z-Warriors in a universe to force Son Goku to appear. As long as Son Goku appears, she will be able to obtain the secret of entering the world of Tenryu. At that time, she can use Zhai Kou's power to steal the power of the Heavenly Dragon God Realm, and even become the Heavenly Dragon God King. You must not die. 35. Demon, you demon. 99. On the ground, West Supreme Kai cursed Bupa weakly, his eyes full of anger and unwillingness. She knew that all her secrets had been stolen. The most ironic thing is that the means that Bupa uses is the one she left on the planet Dread. That is to say, Bupa uses her means against her, which makes it difficult for the West Supreme Kai to accept. Demon. With a cold smile, Bupa looked down at Supreme Kai and said, "Aren't you a devil? Zhai Kou's growth is all under your control. How many planets are broken and how many lives have fallen? If you say it nicely, you are Supreme Kai, but if you say something bad, you are a complete executioner. But speaking of which, I have to thank you. The technology of making Zhai Kou is a good method, stronger than the artificial Saiyan technology I have mastered, and it is worthy of being the Supreme Kai of the West. Tell me where the genes of God are, and I'll give you a treat." After that, Bupa stared at the Supreme Kai. Although he stole all the memory of the other party, he also did not get the information about the gene of God. That thing is the key to making a Saiyan like Zhai Kou. As long as he gets it, he can even use the blood of himself, Broly, Son Gohan and others to create an existence that is not inferior to Zhai Kou, or even surpasses Zhai Kou's potential. You know, Zhai Kou has a lot of potential, and even has the potential to become a Grand Priest. If this can be mass-produced, even if it's not a lot, it's enough to fulfill Bupa's goals and ambitions. As long as the high-end combat power is sufficient, it is not a problem for the Saiyan family to surpass the Angel family in GT Universe. Don't think about it. Hearing this, West Supreme Kai refused without hesitation. She knew very well that she would definitely die. Even if she said something about God's genes, she would be killed. In this case, how could she possibly assist Bupa, and how could she possibly tell Bupa where the God's genes were? For a time, Supreme Kai clenched his teeth sharply, stared at Bupa and said, "Damn bastard, wait to die." 35. If you offend Zeno, you will only end up dead. If you want God's genes, that's not something you can peep. Saying that, Supreme Kai suddenly unleashed what little power was left in his body. The next second, you can see the body of West Supreme Kai began to expand rapidly. In just a few breaths, West Supreme Kai's body has become like a balloon. Damn bastard, die with me. With a roar, Supreme Kai suddenly clenched his teeth and exploded. Blow up. Seeing this, Bupa sneered, raised his hand and swept out his own divine power to suppress it directly. The next second, you can see that Supreme Kai's body exploded, and the whole person was completely turned into fly ash and dust. However, the power of her self-destruction could not reach Bupa at all, and all were blocked from the outside world by the power of God. No, mother. This scene directly caused Zhai Kou in the far area to run wild. West Supreme Kai dies. Moreover, he died in the area in front of him like this, which was definitely something that Zhai Kou couldn't accept. The next second, Zhai Kou's whole body throbbed with lightning. It can be seen that the strength of his body increases instantly at this moment, and the strength of the whole person has directly reached the level of the middle stage of the 13th order. Get away from me. Good Zhao good. With a loud shout, Zhai Kou knocked out Broly, who was caught off guard with one punch. Immediately afterwards, he rushed out and attacked Bupa, roaring, "Kill Mum, I want you to die." In the next second, countless Kaigong bombs from Zhai Kou's hands flew out, attacking the area where Bupa was located. Tier 13 combat power. Super 5 full power. Seeing this, Bupa raised his brows, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. It's really full of potential. The fact that the death of West Supreme Kai can have such a big impact on you, it seems that you really don't know anything about it. But if you want to kill me with only 13th order power, then you are too naive. As he spoke, Bupa's whole body glowed with crimson radiance, and he directly entered the Super 4 form. Immediately afterwards, Bupa raised his hand and shook it sharply under everyone's gaze. Chapter 435, Suppressing Zhai Kou. Bupa analyzes the truth. Click. The sound of shattering resounded, and one of Zhai Kou's arms was directly twisted off. With a scream in his mouth, Zhai Kou bared his teeth in pain. At this moment, Zhai Kou understood how powerful and terrifying the Bupa in front of him was. The crushing of the power at that moment directly caused his Super 5 full power to collapse. The 13th order combat power is indeed powerful, but it is meaningless under such an attack, especially in front of Bupa. The so-called 13th tier combat power is vulnerable like a baby. Impossible. How can that be? Difficulty retreating away from Bupa, Zhai Kou stared at Bupa, his eyes full of incredible colors. For nothing else, it's really that the gap between all this and what he knows is too great. The strongest Son Goku in the universe is clearly not his opponent. The elder brother Son Gohan, who is not in his eyes, is obviously stronger than Son Goku. Especially the appearance of Broly and Bupa made him feel defeated and even powerless. Nothing is impossible. Glancing at Zhai Kou, Bupa said with an icy expression, "You are not enough to be my opponent just with your 13th order power. But I won't kill you. After all, you are Son Goku's son, and you can count as the existence of my Saiyan clan. I am the king of Saiyan 377, and now the Supreme Kai who controlled you is dead, and the object of your allegiance from now on is me." As soon as these words came out, Broly, Son Goku and Son Gohan were all shocked. Unexpectedly, Bupa actually wanted to subdue Zhai Kou in front of him. However, when it came to Bupa's continuous collection of people back then, Broly and the others soon became relieved. "Impossible. I will never give allegiance to you." Hearing this, Zhai Kou was furious, and he scolded without hesitation, "What are you doing to my mother? I must kill you to avenge him." As soon as these words came out, Son Goku and the others frowned. Zhai Kou hated Bupa so much, they knew what the consequences would be. Especially Son Goku and Son Gohan, after knowing that the latter is not from this world, but is also their own heir and younger brother, their hearts are more unbearable and sympathetic. Subconsciously, Son Goku said, "Zhai Kou, don't make trouble. Allegiance to Mr. Bupa is your best choice." 39. Although Bupa killed Supreme Kai, Son Goku could see that the latter was using Zhai Kou. Speaking of which, the Zhai Kou in front of him was very similar to him, both possessing the heart of a child. It's just that Son Goku has grown up gradually over the years, but Zhai Kou is still in the mood of a child. Hearing this, Zhai Kou subconsciously glanced at Son Goku. Although the latter's strength is not as good as his own, he still respects it. But he couldn't give up on the death of West Supreme Kai, and he couldn't just let it go. Thinking of this, Zhai Kou suddenly pulled his arm. With a click, the arm that was pulled by Bupa was directly connected. After all this was done, Zhai Kou's breath gushed out, his eyes fixed on Bupa, and he said, "Even if you die, I won't let you submit." Seeing this, Bupa laughed. Zhai Kou is so blindly obedient, no wonder he is played by Supreme Kai in the palm of his hand. Thinking of this, Bupa didn't take it directly. The latter's potential was enough to make him waste some time dealing with it. Thinking of this, Bupa stopped talking nonsense and said directly, "Zhai Kou, Zhai Supreme Kai is not your mother. Strictly speaking, you have only one father, and that is Son Goku. But you also have no mother." "What? No mother?" "West Supreme Kai is not Zhai Kou's mother." Hearing this, Broly, Son Goku and Son Gohan were all taken aback. If it wasn't for Bupa, they would never believe it. After all, if Zhai Kou was not the heir of Supreme Kai, how could he be so blindly obedient to him? But since it was Bupa who said it, they had to consider the authenticity of this thing. "Impossible. You are talking nonsense." Zhai Kou was even more emotional, his eyes blood red, and said, "Bupa, you are not talking nonsense." 35. Since you dare to arrange my mother, I will never let you go. Saying that, Zhai Kou rushed out to the area where Bupa was located. Foolishness. Seeing this, Bupa's eyes flashed with anger. Several times of persuasion had no effect, and since that was the case, he had no choice but to suppress it himself. Thinking of this, Bupa no longer hesitated, and immediately activated the flash power. The next second, Bupa's figure appeared in the area where Zhai Kou was, and without the slightest hesitation, G-Fist attacked his body continuously. What? A second later, Zhai Kou's screams resounded. It can be seen that his figure fell from the sky and smashed to the ground. Blood was constantly spurting out of his mouth, and the whole person lay on the ground and was already dying. Especially since almost all the flesh and bones on his body have been destroyed, let alone revenge, he can't even stand up. Sigh, so strong. It was suppressed in an instant. 9. Seeing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan couldn't help but take a deep breath, their eyes filled with unbelievable colors. The power of Zhai Kou is obvious to all. Even though Zhai Kou might not be Bupa's opponent, they didn't expect to lose so completely. Subconsciously, Son Goku and Son Gohan clenched their fists and thought to themselves, such power. 35. Only such powers are worth pursuing. I must reach such a point. I must have the fighting power of Lord Bupa. Da. The sound of footsteps resounded, and Bupa had now reached the area where Zhai Kou was. Looking down at Zhai Kou on the ground, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, after knowing the gap between the two sides, "Is there anything else you want to say?" 35. Hearing this, Zhai Kou subconsciously opened his mouth to say something. But at this moment, he was in unbearable pain, and he couldn't even utter a complete sentence. I can't speak. Seeing this, Bupa smiled slightly, as if everything was under his control. Immediately afterwards, Bupa said condescendingly, if that's the case, then I'll let you know about the dangers in the world. 35. You are indeed not the son of Supreme Kai. This is the information I got after stealing all the memories of Supreme Kai with mind reading. Not only that, but you are not even a son of Son Goku in the true sense, because you were not born normally, but the product of the Western Supreme Kai stealing the Son Goku gene and combining the God's gene. Chapter 436. Zhai Kou, the three of you collapsed. Bupa's trump card. What? Made by stealing genes. Hearing Bupa's narration, Son Goku and Son Gohan, who were not far away, both exclaimed. After looking at each other, Son Gohan said, Master Bupa, doesn't that mean that Zhai Kou is an artificial Saiyan? If that's the case, then he's not really my father's son, nor is he really my younger brother. Indeed, if Western Supreme Kai steals Son Goku's gene, and then uses himself as a carrier to give birth to Zhai Kou, that Zhai Kou is Son Goku's son, Son Gohan's younger brother. But since he is only the product of gene combination, in a sense, it is more of an artificial Saiyan sequence. No, it's impossible. On the ground, Zhai Kou's eyes widened, and it was even more difficult to accept at this moment. Bupa's words hit him so hard that he couldn't even care about his own injury and the rest. With a pair of eyes staring at Bupa, Zhai Kou gritted his teeth and said, You talk nonsense. You talk nonsense. Nonsense. With a cold smile, Bupa glanced at Zhai Kou and said, Is it really nonsense that you should know it yourself? I don't believe you can't see that the West Supreme Kai is more of a use than a mother-son love for you. Also, didn't you find out? The Supreme Kai didn't teach you the power of God from beginning to end. You must know that the world you are talking about is the power of God, and you have the genes of God. Once you master the power of God, it is a real super race God. With the normal state of Super 5 and the power of Super Saiyan, your potential and limit are close to Angel, even the high-level Grand Angel and Grand Priest. But Zhai Supreme Kai did not teach you the power of God, because once you master the power of God, your wisdom will be completely opened, and she will not be able to control you at that time. What? And such a thing? Hearing this, Son Goku and the others in the side area were shocked. If it is true as Bupa said, then Zhai Kou's situation is too bad. Not just a manufactured artifact, but a pawn of the Western Supreme Kai. Under such circumstances, Zhai Kou didn't know anything, and even was 100% loyal to the Western Supreme Kai. I thought that Zhai Kou cared about Supreme Kai because of the deep love between mother and son. But what about now? After knowing all this, they can understand how sinister the Supreme Kai is. Good guy, God's genes are so powerful. Broly on the side is staring thoughtfully at Zhai Kou on the ground. What he cares more about is not what Western Supreme Kai is, but what Bupa said once Zhai Kou masters the power of God. A true superhero, plus its own potential to push the limits. Once Zhai Kou really reaches such a level, I'm afraid it won't take long before he may even surpass himself. Thinking of this, Broly subconsciously said, Brother, can we also get this God's gene? 35. As soon as these words came out, both Son Goku and Son Gohan were refreshed. God's gene. Bupa said it in a magical way, which made them all look forward to it and long for it. No. Swinging his head, Bupa said indifferently, God's genes need to be manufactured at the level of genes. 35. So, once a life is complete, it cannot be self-fused. 35. So, even if you get the God's gene, It can only be used in the production of artificial Saiyan. After hearing Bupa's answer, the three of Broly were immediately disappointed. They thought it was an opportunity, but they didn't expect the result to be completely different from what they imagined. Moreover, since the gods' genes cannot be used for themselves, it means that they cannot reach the potential of Zhai Kou's level. You are talking nonsense. You are talking nonsense. However, at the moment, Zhai Kou growled in despair, although he didn't want to admit it. He also vaguely felt that what Bupa said was not a lie, especially at this moment. He is powerless to resist, and he can think rationally. With the continuous memories, Zhai Kou's face became even more ugly, and the whole person's mood became more and more unstable. Shaken. It doesn't look like there is no cure. 5. And Bupa's mouth was raised at the moment. Looking at Zhai Kou, who had begun to doubt Zhai Supreme Kai on the ground, he continued to speak directly. If you don't believe it, then you can think about whether Zhai Supreme Kai has a studio similar to making androids. Also, since she created you, it is reasonable to say that she will probably create more existences. Zero flowers. After so many years, haven't you seen an existence similar to yours, containing aura fluctuations similar to yours? Hearing this, Zhai Kou was completely silent. Bupa's words stuck in his heart like a sharp knife, and even made him not know how to refute it for a while. He had indeed encountered a similar aura before, but those guys were too weak to even count. And there are a lot of lives in the West Supreme Kai and his station. At that time, he didn't know what it was, and he didn't know where those people came from. But now with Bupa talking, he seemed to understand that those guys were androids. And if it is really an artificial human, it means that it is likely that it is really artificially created, not the son of Son Goku in the true sense. And the most important point. Looking at Zhai Kou's reaction, Bupa's eyes flashed at this moment, and then he said, I got an interesting message in the memory of West Supreme Kai. That is, there is a special device in your lower abdomen. This thing can destroy you in an instant, and even block the power of your whole body directly. It's just that you haven't noticed it all this time, and no one can hurt you. What? Special device? Hearing this, Zhai Kou was stunned. Broly, Son Goku and Son Gohan on the side were also dumbfounded. Western Supreme Kai actually installed a special device in Zhai Kou's body. Doesn't this mean that the latter contains evil intentions, or even Master Bupa? Subconsciously, Son Goku then opened his mouth and asked, the special device is not the same as the Lazuli brothers and sisters, right? 35. The bomb that Dr. O planted back then was deadly enough. Could it be that Zhai Kou also has it in his body? If that's the case, isn't Zhai Kou very dangerous? And please, adults can take him out. At this moment, Son Goku's inner sympathy is more, although the other party is not his heir in the strict sense, but after all, he was mainly created by his own genes. As a last resort, Son Goku really didn't want the latter to die, and he still died so confusedly. 7. Chapter 437. The ban on the West Supreme Kai, Zhai Kou, who was instantly abolished. Good. Looking at Son Goku, Bupa said indifferently, but this ban is not a bomb like Lazuli and the others. After all, with Zhai Kou's current strength, a mere bomb is not enough to threaten him. 35. But the power of this prohibition is enough to make Zhai Kou become a crippled person in an instant, and all the power in his body cannot be used, and his life and death will be in the blink of an eye. What? So serious? Son Goku, Son Gohan and Broly couldn't help exclaiming after listening to Bupa's story. Although I had already guessed that Supreme Kai's backhand was not small, I didn't expect it to be so serious. Impossible. This is impossible. On the ground, Zhai Kou roared with a grey face. The whole person couldn't believe what Bupa said was the real 377. But at the same time, his inner emotions have also been extremely heavy. He vaguely felt that the other party was not lying. This also means that this kind of restriction really exists in his body. If that's the case, doesn't that mean the Supreme Kai has been guarding him from start to finish? Most importantly, since Supreme Kai is his mother, why did he do this? This kind of method is obviously not visible. If there is a problem, then do not believe. Seeing Zhai Kou's reaction, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, since you don't believe it, then we can try it. Try? Raising his brows, Zhai Kou looked at Bupa in confusion, not understanding what he was referring to. Brother, are you saying that you have mastered the Western Supreme Kai ban? At this time, Broly on the side said thoughtfully. Hearing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan looked at Bupa with astonishment. If he really mastered the means of the Western Supreme Kai, then this thing is even more incredible. After all, mind reading is only to read the other party's inner thoughts. How can it be possible to obtain all the memories? Good. However, Bupa didn't hide it, nodded indifferently and said, my mind-reading technique originated from the Supreme Kai, which itself is a means of stealing memory. If nothing else, Supreme Kai used a similar ability to brainwash Zhai Kou before he was born. That's why Zhai Kou has always been obedient to her, and even his own wisdom has been completely limited. The current Zhai Kou seems to have extraordinary strength, but his own wisdom is also limited to the period when Son Gohan played against Cell. 35. What? Zhai Kou's intelligence is limited. Hearing this, Son Goku subconsciously exclaimed, Gohan in the Cell period. Wasn't that only 12 or 13 years old? At this moment, Son Goku's face became ugly. In any case, this Zhai Kou is considered his own child, and even though he is an android, he himself has always been Son Goku as his own father. But what about now? His own child is actually limited in intelligence. How can he accept it? No wonder Zhai Kou was so easy to get angry before. 39. At this time, Son Gohan said thoughtfully, I was in an unstable state when I was 12 or 13 years old, and once I was angry, it would go completely wild. I seem to understand why Zhai Kou seems to be in the same grade as me, but he can also complete that Super 5, or even Super 5 full power transformation. As soon as these words came out, Son Goku and Broly also nodded. As Son Gohan said, they now understood why Zhai Kou's transformation skills were so advanced that even Bupa couldn't compare to him. Authoring his wisdom was blocked at the age of 12 or 13, which also caused his anger to come quickly, and even almost without any hindrance. Under such circumstances, Zhai Kou's heart of deficit is definitely the purest, and with the fact that he is easy to get angry, it is not impossible to complete the Super 5 transformation. Impossible. She couldn't have done this to me. On the ground, Zhai Kou listened to the words of Son Gohan and others in disbelief. He subconsciously shouted and his eyes were full of panic and anxiety. He didn't know if it was true, but he vaguely felt that what Bupa and others said was not a lie. But if this is the case, then what is the mother that he has always recognized? What is the Western Supreme Kai? Don't be so excited. Seeing this situation, Bupa smiled lightly, took out a fairy bin and threw it into Zhai Kou's mouth and said, you will know if you try it. 0. This is a mortal bin. After eating it, your injury will recover as before, and even your strength will be completely recovered. When the time comes I'll use the means I got from the Supreme Kai in the West and you'll know if it's true or not. Zhai Kou swallowed the fairy bins in one bite, but Zhai Kou did not refuse. With the power of Xiandu pouring out, Zhai Kou's power quickly began to recover, and even the injuries on his body gradually disappeared. After a while, Zhai Kou stood up from the ground. With the exception of looking haggard, there was no more problem at all. Bring it on. When he stood up, Zhai Kou looked at Bupa and said, I will definitely prove that what you said is a lie. Seeing this, Broly and others shook their heads. Although there is no certainty about the authenticity of this matter, they also believe that Bupa cannot do something they are not sure about. In this case, it also means that there is a real problem in Zhai Kou's body, and Supreme Kai also uses Zhai Kou from beginning to end. Good. 35. Nodding, Bupa did not refuse. Since the other party doesn't believe it, he doesn't need to continue wasting saliva. Immediately, Bupa activated the secret technique obtained from the memory of the Western Supreme Kai. In an instant, Zhai Kou's screams resounded. It can be seen that his body trembled violently. He stretched out his hand to cover his heart and fell to the ground directly. Not only that, with the screams getting stronger and stronger, Zhai Kou was twitching and sweating constantly, and even the strength of that body was rapidly decreasing. In just a few breaths, Zhai Kou had withdrawn from the Super 5 state and returned to his normal state. After another 7 or 8 breaths, Zhai Kou was already paralyzed on the ground. His whole body was like a puddle of mud, and he didn't even have any possibility to move. Sir Bupa, that's enough. Lord Bupa, stop. Seeing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan hurriedly stopped. From the current situation, it can be clearly seen that all of this is true, and Zhai Kou has really been drawn out of power and cannot compete with him. Now Zhai Kou, the power of the whole person has completely disappeared, just like a mortal weak. Chapter 438 Zhai Kou's Allegiance, Fallen Angel Gene. For a time, Son Goku and Son Gohan's hearts were also extremely strong for the Western Supreme Kai. If Bupa hadn't already killed him, they would have killed him now. Their own son, younger brother, was treated and used in such a way, which was simply unacceptable to them. The needle behind the wasp's tail is the most poisonous to a woman's heart. Is this sentence really wrong? Broly shook his head, and a trace of surprise and emotion flashed in his eyes at the moment. West Supreme Kai's viciousness surprised him, and at the same time he was determined in his heart that he would never provoke innocent women in the future. Too cruel, unacceptable. This kind of woman's cruelty is more serious than killing the other party. If it weren't for the existence of Bupa, I'm afraid that Zhai Kou on the ground would be killed by his calculations all his life. Eat it. At this time, Bupa took out a fairy bin again and threw it into Zhai Kou's mouth, and said, the ban has been activated, and your power cannot be recovered. However, Xiandu can also save your life. As long as the ban can be lifted, then you will be able to recover as before. 20. Hearing this, Zhai Kou opened his mouth for a while, not knowing what to do. Up to now, the true face of West Supreme Kai has been completely revealed, and he can no longer justify it. Because of this, Zhai Kou didn't know what to do next, and was even confused about his future. After all, he has always been a follower of Supreme Kai, and now that Supreme Kai is dead and his own secrets have been exposed, he doesn't know the meaning of his existence. Zhai Kou, eat quickly. At this time, Son Goku, who was on the side, quickly stepped forward and said, although you are not my biological son, you are still my blood-related son after all. The vicious woman of West Supreme Kai is dead, and no one will be able to continue to force and manipulate you in the future. Now, You need to recover as soon as possible. We will help you solve the restriction in your body. From now on, you will live for yourself. Live for yourself. Hearing this, Zhai Kou's body trembled, and he subconsciously raised his head to look at Son Goku. His eyes moistened. Even if it's just a simple sentence. But Son Goku's words also made Zhai Kou no longer confused at this moment. I see, Dad. Taking a deep breath, Zhai Kou swallowed the fairy bean without hesitation. With the activation of Xiandu's power, Zhai Kou's state quickly began to recover. It's just that his power is still imprisoned and cannot be recovered, but it has not affected his free movement. Standing up, Zhai Kou glanced at Son Goku and Son Gohan with complicated eyes, then locked on Bupa's body and said, "Is what you said before true? Now that I have no power, are you still willing to accept my allegiance?" "Certainly." Hearing this, Bupa laughed. There is no solution to the restriction in Zhai Kou's body, but don't forget that there is Dragon Ball in this world. As long as Shenron is summoned, the so-called ban will be meaningless. On the contrary, Zhai Kou's power is extremely powerful, and has even reached the state of Super 5 full power. Once the restraint in his body is lifted, and even his own intelligence is restored, he will reach an even more terrifying level. Not only that, Zhai Kou has the gene of God in his body. Once he masters the power of God, his strength may even be comparable to Broly, or even stronger than Broly. Therefore, Zhai Kou's allegiance is quite important to Xuanqing. It is good. After confirming that Bupa was not joking, Zhai Kou also nodded at the moment. Immediately afterwards, Zhai Kou knelt down on one knee and said, "My subordinate Zhai Kou is willing to be loyal to Lord Bupa." Ding. Check the allegiance of Zhai Kou, the main character, and whether the host is bound. Done. Hearing the system prompt, Bupa laughed immediately. Bind. Without any hesitation, Bupa chose to bind directly. Ding. Binding succeeded. Ding. Check that Zhai Kou's loyalty reaches 90. Unlock 10 times the return ability, and reward the fallen angel gene x 10. Ding. Check Zhai Kou's loyalty to 100. Reward the fallen angel gene x 10. 100% loyalty. His pupils shrank, and a flash of horror flashed in Bupa's eyes. He subconsciously looked at Zhai Kou on the ground, and said in surprise, "Good guy, just 100% loyalty." This is really unexpected news for me. Except for Broly, this Zhai Kou is definitely the fastest existence I accept to reach 100 loyalty. 99. After being surprised, Bupa immediately began to check the reward this time. Fallen angel gene can be combined with genes to create an existence that masters the power of angel. Fallen angel gene, it can be fused with other genes to create an existence with the potential of a great angel. Good. After reading all the information, Bupa was overjoyed at the moment. Whether it is the fallen angel gene or the fallen angel gene, the value of both is extremely huge. In a sense, it is even more powerful than the gene of God in Zhai Kou's body. And there are 20 genes, which means that he can create 20 angel potentials and 20 great angel potentials. Thinking of this, Bupa was very excited. If this is combined with the Saiyan gene, it will definitely surpass the Super Saiyan God. Even in a sense, Saiyan Angel's potential is likely to be stronger in a sense. After all, the genes of Saiyan and Angel are fused. Once they are born, they will master the power of Angel and the power of Saiyan. At that time, whether it is Angel transformation or Super Game transformation, it will be compatible with them. Even. Get up. 35. After returning to his senses, Bupa looked at Zhai Kou who was on the ground and reached out to help him up. He is extremely satisfied with this existence that is 100% loyal to himself, and has not brought such huge benefits to himself. Master Bupa. At this time, Son Goku stepped forward and asked expectantly, "I dare to ask your lord, is there a way to get rid of the restraint in Zhai Kou's body?" As soon as these words came out, Broly, Son Gohan and Zhai Kou also looked at Bupa expectantly. After all, Zhai Kou's power is unquestionable. It was only because the relationship between the two sides was not good, but now that the latter has allegiance, it is absolutely impossible to sit idly by and let his power dissipate. I don't have that ability. 35. Facing the gaze, Bupa shook his head. However, he did not sell out, and continued without waiting for Son Goku and others to be disappointed, but Shenron should be able to restore his condition. Son Goku, where is the 7 Dragon Ball you came to Earth to find? Chapter 439 Evil Shenron Birth. Bupa's Tangle. 7 Dragon Ball. Slightly taken aback, Son Goku immediately realized what Bupa wanted to do. With the power of the 7 Dragon Balls, the hidden dangers of Zhai Kou can really be solved. Thinking of this, Son Goku immediately said, "Where is Buma?" 5. After we collected the 7 Dragon Balls, we handed them over to Buma. As long as you go to the Universal Capsule Company now, you can directly summon Shenron. Good. 35. Hearing this, Bupa nodded in satisfaction. Immediately afterwards, his eyes turned to Zhai Kou who was on the side and said, "Let's go. Now go to the location of the Universal Capsule Company. After summoning Shenron, you can remove the restraint in your body, and then you will be able to return to normal." 5. Real. Hearing this, Zhai Kou was overjoyed. Although he has accepted his current situation, he still wants to regain his strength. Before, he thought that there was no hope, but he did not expect that there will be another village. For a time, Zhai Kou was very excited. His eyes focused on Bupa and said, Master Bupa, I can really recover. Okay. Nodding his head, Bupa said indifferently, Shenron's power is enough to change all this. West Supreme Kai itself is not too powerful, and although we won't lift this span, it's nothing to Shenron. 5. Even if Shenron can't solve it, as long as I give a solution, I can completely solve it with my strength. Hiss. Hearing this, Son Goku and others on the side were also excited. They were worried about what would happen if Shenron didn't fix it. But now it seems they don't need to worry about that. Thinking of this, a group of people did not hesitate, and immediately began to leave this place. Call out! Call out! The sound of breaking through the air resounded, and Bupa and a group of people quickly arrived at the location of the Universal Capsule Company. Bupa, Dad. Following the return of Bupa and the others, Son Goten and others who had recovered to their original state all walked out of the house. After seeing that Son Goku and others were safe and sound, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It's him, that enemy. But soon, their eyes also focused on Zhai Kou's body, and each and everyone's expressions changed drastically and they hurriedly made a posture of alertness. Goten, stop. Seeing this, Son Goku hurriedly scolds. After all, the current Zhai Kou is extremely weak. Once Son Goten and others make a move, it will easily cause devastating damage to Zhai Kou. The most important thing is that now Zhai Kou has completely surrendered to Bupa. It can be said that the two sides cannot be enemies anymore. Dad. Goku. Seeing Son Goku who stepped forward to protect Zhai Kou, Son Goten and others in the area next to him were all stunned. Everyone was an enemy before, so why is Son Goku turning to help each other now? And looking at this posture, Son Goku seems to be very concerned about Zhai Kou. What happened? All right. Seeing this, Bupa clapped his hands and said, the culprit in this matter is Supreme Kai. West Supreme Kai has been killed by me. Zhai Kou is just the object of his use and deception. He will no longer shoot at you. And Zhai Kou has surrendered to me, and will be a member of my Justice League from now on. What? The culprit is dead. Zhai Kou has surrendered. After listening to Bupa's story, Son Goten and others suddenly realized what was going on. For a time, everyone could not help looking at each other. Although understanding is understood, the sudden transformation from an enemy to a friend still makes them feel a little unbelievable and at a loss. Bulma 95. But Bupa didn't care about Son Goten and others' reactions at the moment, and looked directly at Bulma, and said, go and take out the 7 Dragon Balls. Zhai Kou's current situation needs 7 Dragon Balls to recover. It is good. With a promise, Bulma didn't ask anything. After all, since Bupa had already said that the latter would not threaten him and others, he naturally believed it. Immediately, Bulma turned around and walked into the house. The eyes of Son Goten and the others at this moment were focused on Zhai Kou, and they kept looking at their eyes full of doubts, incomprehension and doubt. Obviously, they have not completely relieved God, and have not completely accepted this matter. But all of this was innocuous, and Bupa and the others didn't care too much. Da. Moments later, Buma hurried out of the house. When he arrived at the area where Bupa was, Buma took out an all-purpose capsule and said, Bupa, 7 Dragon Balls are in it. It is good. With a promise, Bupa no longer hesitated, and immediately picked up the universal capsule and threw it on the ground. With a bang, the 7 Dragon Ball appeared on the ground. Come out Shenron. One step forward, Bupa immediately cast a spell. In the next second, the heaven and the earth shook, and endless dark clouds gathered together, covering the entire earth at a speed visible to the naked eye. As the earth plunged into darkness, golden lightnings fell from the sky, and the 7 Dragon Balls shone brightly, and Shenron flew directly into the air. Speak your wishes. 39. Shenron looked down at everyone on the ground and said, I can fulfill your 3 wishes. But this time Shenron has also undergone some changes. With the passage of time, you can clearly see that the golden brilliance of its body gradually dissipates, and a wave of evil aura constantly surrounds its body. Just looking at Shenron made one feel shivering, even an extremely disturbing illusion. What's the situation? Why has Shenron changed so much? For a time, Son Goku and the others looked at each other, the ones with good money, their eyes full of puzzlement and doubts. For the situation in front of them, their hearts are full of doubts and confusion, including Broly is no exception. They all felt something was wrong with Shenron, but for a while they couldn't tell why. Evil Dragon. On the contrary, Bupa's eyes flashed brightly at this moment, and he looked at Shenron in the air thoughtfully, and murmured in his heart, good guy. I thought that the plot of the evil Naturon Shenron was over, but I didn't expect the group to start in the true sense. Now I have summoned the evil dragon, and once I make a wish, the evil Naturon Shenron will be born, and then, at this moment, Bupa's expression changed. To be honest, he didn't want the evil Naturon Shenron to appear, and that would cause a lot of crises in the universe, especially in the case of the multidimensional universe running wild. In case of an accident, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 440 Zhai Kou Recovery, Dragon Ball Scattered Universe. But soon, Bupa calmed down. Although the appearance of the evil Naturon Shenron may cause some trouble, it is of little value compared to Zhai Kou. As soon as he thought of this, Bupa immediately raised his head and said, Shenron, lift the ban left by Supreme Kai in Zhai Kou's body. as you wish. Glancing at Bupa, the evil dragon in midair immediately activated its ability. Along with his red eyes, he could clearly see that Zhai Kou's body began to flood on the ground. In just a few breaths, the restraint left by Supreme Kai in Zhai Kou's body was removed. It was at this moment that Zhai Kou's sealed power immediately returned to its original state. In an instant, Zhai Kou's terrifying aura swept out, and the entire earth began to vibrate violently. So strong. 35. What a horrible smell. Seeing this, Son Gohan and the others in an area couldn't help exclaiming. Although he had already known that Zhai Kou's power was strong, he did not use all his strength when facing them. At this moment, Zhai Kou's power recovery was not covered up, so naturally it was not something they could bear and understand. Not only that, but even the evil dragon in midair had a look of horror in his eyes. The aura that Zhai Kou conveyed was so terrifying that even he had to pay attention to it, and even was astonished. However, this 380-hour evil dragon did not dare to have any other actions. After looking at Bupa and others on the ground, the evil dragon continued to speak. Your wish has been fulfilled, say the rest. Very good. Seeing this, Bupa nodded in satisfaction. Judging from the current situation, this effect still makes him quite satisfied and recognized. Immediately afterwards, Bupa did not hesitate, and continued to say, Shenron, restore Zhai Kou's mind to a normal state. 35. As you wish. With a promise, Shenron began to exert his power again. After a while, the redness in Shenron's eyes gradually began to dissipate, and he said, your wish has been fulfilled, say your third wish. As soon as these words came out, Bupa was fine. However, Broly, Son Goku and others in the area on the side looked at Zhai Kou subconsciously. They knew what it meant when Zhai Kou regained his sanity. The previous Zhai Kou was fooled by Western Supreme Kai because of his unsound mind. Now that he is sane, his only weakness has completely disappeared. The most important thing is that, according to the current situation, once Zhai Kou completely wakes up, his own strength is bound to be greatly improved, and even the third wish. At this time, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth, looked at Shenron in midair and said, Shenron, I want you to create the most fairy bins for me within your ability. Although Bupa got a lot of fairy bins from Shenron before, the consumption of their quantity is also huge. In addition to the fairy bins that the Justice League needs in the future, and the possible crisis of the multi-universe, she does not think that the fairy bins in her hands are enough. And now that the evil dragon has appeared, it means that there will be no 7 Dragon Balls on the Earth in the future. In this case, the only way to maximize the benefits before it disappears is to get enough fairy bins to ensure their own interests. No problem. Glancing at Bupa, Shenron didn't refuse anything. The mere fairy bins are nothing to him. Immediately, Shenron began to act. With the constant resounding of its slow roar, you can clearly see countless densely packed fairy bins appearing in the air. Immediately afterwards, those fairy bins were absorbed into countless omnipotent capsules. As time passed, Shenron's aura began to gradually weaken. As the last batch of immortal bins was put into the universal capsule, Shenron stopped his movements and said with a weak expression, your wish has been fulfilled. The next second, the dense omnipotent capsules fell from the sky and flew into the area where Bupa was. Receive. Seeing this, Bupa did not hesitate, and with a wave of his hand, he immediately put away the all-purpose capsules. With so many all-purpose capsules, there are at least tens of thousands of fairy beans in them. With the existence of these fairy beans, at least in a short period of time, there will be no shortage of fairy beans. And with the existence of these fairy beans, he can completely let Karan-sama continue to carry out large-scale cultivation. Although the supernatural water is precious, it is also extremely numerous in the earth and heaven. Your wish has been fulfilled, then I should leave too. At this time, the evil dragon spoke quietly. Immediately afterwards, it could be seen that its huge body began to dissipate, and the Dragon Ball of 7 black stars appeared in midair. What's the situation? How did the color of Dragon Ball change? Black stars. On the ground, Son Goku and the others immediately noticed the changes in the 7 Dragon Ball, and their eyes were full of puzzled expressions. At the same time, they all vaguely felt a strong sense of unease in their hearts at the moment. Not for anything else, because under the action of that force, they could clearly feel something wrong. Especially those 7 Dragon Balls with black stars, they feel as if they are extremely evil and even full of danger. Call out. Call out. At this time, the evil 7 Dragon Ball flew out and left the area of the Earth scattered all over the universe. What's the situation? Dragon Ball left Earth? Seeing this situation, Son Goku and others were even more dumbfounded. Everyone was stunned by this sudden change. When will the 7 Dragon Ball leave the Earth? You must know that even if these Dragon Balls were scattered before, they were only scattered in various areas of the Earth. Master Bupa. Subconsciously, Son Goku stepped forward and said, is there something wrong with this matter? As soon as these words came out, Son Gohan and the others also looked at where Bupa was. They all felt that something was wrong, but they couldn't say why. It's really not right. Glancing at everyone, Bupa's eyes flashed and he said, there should be a problem with the 7 Dragon Balls. Not only that, the Shenron summoned before is obviously different from the one before. 35. So, if nothing else, The 7 Dragon Balls are now flying into the universe, which should cause some unnecessary trouble. 99. Zizzy. Just as Bupa finished speaking, a wave of spatial fluctuations quietly emerged. Looking at the sound, you can see that the figure of God Jabbit hurriedly walked out of it. Just as soon as he landed, the God Jabbit quickly came to the area where Bupa was, and exclaimed, "Master Bupa, something is wrong." Chapter 441 Evil 7 Dragon Ball Warriors, the medium of parallel universe, add Supreme Kai. God Jabbit. Seeing the person coming, Son Goku and the others were all taken aback. Immediately afterwards, the faces of each of them became extremely serious and ugly. Not for anything else, because from this matter, they can clearly feel that something is not right. Especially when the evil Shenron just dissipated and the 7 Dragon Balls scattered all over the universe, which made people feel uneasy. "What's the matter? Say it directly." Glancing at the God of Jabbit, Bupa said indifferently. He probably already knew what was going on. It is no wonder that the appearance of the evil 7-star Dragon Ball will lead to what kind of effect. But this is not a big deal for Bupa. After all, even if the evil Naturon Shenron is combined to death, it is a 10th order combat power, and it must not pose a big threat. Master Bupa, faced with the question, Jabbit didn't dare to be negligent, and hurriedly bowed and saluted. "Sir, the ancestors asked me to tell you that the 7 Dragon Ball that flew out before has been completely blackened. Those 7 Dragon Balls are scattered in various areas of universe. They have now turned into warriors, and they exude an extremely evil aura. The ancestors said that once those guys are really born, the entire universe will fall into crisis." 35. What? 7 Dragon Ball turned into a warrior? 7 Dragon Ball to destroy universe? Add. Hearing the words of God Jabbit, Son Goku and others who were present couldn't help exclaiming. All this is completely beyond their expectations, and even makes them a little unbelievable. But looking at the God of Jabbit who swore vows in front of them, they had to admit that all this seemed to be true. After all, if it was false, then the latter would not be so impatient, let alone dare to swear in front of Bupa. "I see." In response, Bupa waved his hand indifferently, and then said, "This matter is nothing. Those guys are not very strong, they don't need me to shoot. Son Goku and others are enough to deal with them." As soon as these words came out, Son Goku and the others suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The strength is not strong. That's okay, at least there won't be much danger. After all, since these guys are not strong, it is completely impossible to destroy universe. Not to mention that the people of the Justice League have already set up their strongholds all over the universe. Once these guys appear, it is bound to be known by the soldiers of the Justice League as soon as possible. At that time, after the Justice League fighters pass the information, they can go to the first time to completely eliminate it. "No, Lord Bupa." However, at the moment, the God of Jabbit shook his head and said with a complicated expression, "If that's the case, then the ancestors couldn't have let me come here so impatiently." 99. Those warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Balls are not very strong, and maybe even Son Goku and others can solve them. 99. But because of their appearance, the collapse of 7 timelines also appeared in the entire universe. According to the ancestors, the collapse of the 7 timelines gathered on the warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Balls. This also leads to the fact that the 7 of them may be defeated, but in the case of them being defeated, the parallel world gap connected to them will open. At that time, it is very likely that powerful men from other worlds will invade our universe, and their strength will definitely exceed the limit of the warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Balls. Add. What? 7 parallel universe links. Hearing this, Bupa's face suddenly turned serious. Not only him, but also Broly and others on the side looked horrified. If it is really like what the God of Jappy said, then the seriousness of this matter is self-evident. Once the powerful invasion of the rest of the universe appears, it will definitely be a devastating disaster. They didn't know the power of the other universe fighters before, but after experiencing the incident with Supreme Kai and Zhai Kou this time, they didn't dare to underestimate anything. Damn, how good is this? 35. For a time, the expressions of everyone present changed and their eyes flashed with anxiety. Especially Earth Z fighters like Son Goten. Their strength is not enough. They had no resistance against Zhai Kou before. If there is a powerhouse similar to Zhai Kou, then, I see. At this time, Bupa came back to his senses first, and looked at JB Shinto. It's beyond my expectation that this matter will turn out like this. 0 flowers 0. But you don't need to worry and be impatient. Although there may be a lot of intruders, it doesn't mean that they can be unscrupulous in my universe. 39. God Jabbit, tell old Supreme Kai after you go back and let him monitor their warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Balls. If they do something wrong after they are born, tell me their information, and I will send someone to solve it. Apostrophe. Besides that, if the foreign enemy is too powerful, then I will take action to suppress it as soon as possible. 35. Yes. With a promise, Jabbit was relieved. Add. With Bupa's assurance, he felt a lot more at ease. Back then, they watched the whole battle between Bupa and Caris, and they knew how powerful and terrifying Bupa's strength was. 0. Thinking of this, God Jabbit no longer hesitated, and directly clasped his fists and said, "So, Lord Bupa, I will leave first." After finishing speaking, Jabbit didn't linger any longer, and immediately launched instant transmission to disappear from the spot. Seeing the god of Jabbit leave, Son Goku and the others on the side were all relieved. Immediately afterwards, their eyes locked on Bupa's body, and they asked, "Master Bupa, is this matter decided?" "Lord Bupa, what will be the strength of the warriors that the 7 Dragon Balls transformed into?" "Lord Bupa, will the warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Balls really destroy universe?" 66.99 It is impossible for them not to worry, not only because of the strength of the warriors transformed by the 7 Dragon Ball, but also because of the attitude of the latter. After all, they are extremely serious about this matter, and they are quite emotional about Chi Dragon Ball. If it really turned into a bad guy, wouldn't it completely destroy it? Once those warriors are destroyed, doesn't that mean that the 7 Dragon Balls will also dissipate? Will they not be able to use Shenron from now on? No need to worry. Looking at the reactions of Son Goku and others, Bupa has no idea what they are worried about. After pondering for a while, Bupa waved his hand directly and said, "The evil of the 7 Dragon Ball is caused by the abuse of Shenron's wish. As long as it is eliminated, even if the evil in it is completely eliminated, the 7 Dragon Ball will not collapse." Chapter 442 Zhai Kou's Awakening. I see. After listening to Bupa's remarks, everyone present was suddenly enlightened. Immediately afterwards, Son Goten and others in the stadium cheered. It turns out that this is the reason. 99 Since that's the case, it's enough to destroy the warriors transformed by the evil aura. Great. If this happens, then Shenron won't just disappear. 66 For them, Shenron is already part of the earth. After all, there are many things that they cannot accomplish, only Shenron can revive the rest. Now that they knew that Shenron's life would not be in danger, they all breathed a sigh of relief at the moment. As for eliminating the warriors transformed by the evil breath, they have no burden. After all, according to God's narration, those guys were born with the purpose of destroying universe. This 380 is absolutely not allowed and tolerated by everyone. At this moment, Zhai Kou's low roar resounded. Looking at the reputation, it can be seen that the aura around him has begun to restrain himself, and the whole person has gradually begun to wake up. Are you going to wake up? Are you going to recover? Seeing this, Broly, Son Goku and others all turned their attention to Zhai Kou. For the latter's strength, their hearts are full of fighting intent. Especially Son Goku and Son Gohan. None of them were Zhai Kou's opponents, but it was precisely because of the latter's strength that it stimulated them even more. As for Bupa and Broly, the two are Quinkel, and their bloodline is completely different, which also causes them to have no confidence in catching up with the two. But Zhai Kou is different. The latter situation is very similar to them. Although they all have the existence of a god's gene, they will be comparable to it after they master the Super Saiyan's blood. Especially Son Gohan. If he can complete the transformation of Super Saiyan God, he will definitely not be inferior to Zhai Kou, and even stronger than him. System, check Zhai Kou's information. 9. At this time, Bupa is a rather curious mobilization system. After going through this incident, he was sure that Zhai Kou's strength would improve. After all, judging from the aura emanating from his body, it was indeed something that Zhai Kou couldn't compare to before. The next second, the information about Zhai Kou appeared in front of Bupa's eyes. Zhai Kou, race, God middle. Saiyan, bloodline, superior super race God bloodline. Combat strength, late stage 12. Transformation, Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan 5. Loyalty, 100. Good guy. Basic combat power in the late 12th stage. After reading the information about Zhai Kou, Bupa couldn't help exclaiming in his heart. You must know that before this, Zhai Kou's ultimate combat power was more than 13th order. And it's still in the case of turning into a Super 5. But now what? His basic combat power has already reached the 12th rank. If he is transformed into a Super 5, it will reach the 15th rank of combat power. Add Tier 15 combat power. This is the power level of Broly's limit. That is to say, after this promotion, Zhai Kou already has the ability to compete with Broly. The most important thing is that Zhai Kou still has room to go further, that is, to complete the transformation of the Super Race God. As the owner of God's gene, he is also a different kind of Super Race God, and he can also transform into a Super Race God on the basis of Super 5. At that time, Zhai Kou's ultimate combat power is likely to reach a level close to the 16th order. Tier 16 combat power. That's a level that only big angels and Xenoguards can achieve. This is only the case that Zhai Kou has just recovered. If he is given enough strength to cultivate, he will definitely become stronger by then, and there is a possibility of reaching the Grand Priest level. Thank you Lord Bupa. At this time, Zhai Kou had woken up. He stepped forward and came to Bupa, bowing and saluting, his eyes full of excitement and gratitude. After this incident, he already understood how stupid he was before, especially after solving the intellectual problem. Zhai Kou is more aware of how strong Bupa's kindness is to him. For a time, Zhai Kou looked at Bupa with even more admiration, like a fanatic. Get up, waved his hand. Bupa was extremely indifferent to this, glanced at Zhai Kou calmly and said, all of this is your own chance and background. and it has nothing to do with me. However, although your current strength has increased, your cultivation of the power of God is too bad. 0. So, next, I'm going to take you to practice the power of God with Caris. After you master the power of God, you can transform into a Super Saiyan God on the basis of Super 5. When the time comes, your strength will go further, even surpassing Broly. I hope you won't let me down. What? Beyond Broly, add. Hearing this, Zhai Kou didn't speak, but Son Goku and the others couldn't help exclaiming. For Broly, they know how powerful the latter is, especially after following Bupa to the 7th universe. Broly's strength has reached a point where they are difficult to reach in a sense. Even in the previous battle with Zhai Kou, Broly was able to suppress him just by showing the state of Super 4, and he has not yet displayed the power of Quan Jiao. But now Bupa actually said that after mastering the power of God, Zhai Kou has a combat power that rivals or even surpasses Broly, which makes them unbelievable. Beyond me, interesting, really a good opponent. On the other hand, Broly was very excited at the moment, staring straight at Zhai Kou in the area in front of him, full of anticipation and fighting intent. After all, apart from Bupa and Caris, Broly doesn't think there's anyone who can outdo him. But now it's different. Zhai Kou really has the potential to match or even surpass himself, which means that 0.7 is a good opponent for training. It will definitely live up to Lord Bupa's expectations. Holding his fist in a salute, Zhai Kou was also full of confidence at the moment. He is quite confident in his own strength. And he also understands the gap between himself and Bupa, but he doesn't think he will be inferior to Broly. Thinking of this, Zhai Kou subconsciously looked at Broly not far away and said, Lord Broly, please enlighten me when the time comes. No problem. 35. With a laugh, Broly said with a proud look, no one can beat and surpass me except for the eldest brother. Zhai Kou, your great potential has been recognized by your eldest brother. Since this is the case, then I also expect you to reach such a level. Good. 35. Hearing this, Zhai Kou nodded heavily, and his heart was also high at the moment. Chapter 443. The opportunity of the artificial super competition angel. Add. Immediately afterwards, Bupa and his party were not staying. With the launch of instant transmission, Bupa brought Bulma, Broly and others back to the new Vegeta star. Son Goku. 35. After floating to the ground, Bupa looked at Son Goku and said, this drop of Super Saiyan blood is here for you. With that said, Bupa took out a drop of the Super Saiyan blood he got from the body of the fusion Zamasu and threw it to Son Goku. Super race spirit and blood. Son Goku was overjoyed when he saw the thrown bottle. He could remember what Broly and Son Gohan had said earlier. Once this Jiaoshan blood has been refined, its own blood can be transformed into the blood of Jiaoshan. At that time, he will not only be able to increase his strength, but even master the transformation of the Super Race God while learning the power of God. Moreover, the transformation of the Super Race God and the Super 4 transformations are integrated together, which means that once it is completed, his strength will also be greatly improved. Thank you Lord Bupa. Returning to his senses, Son Goku bowed and saluted, looking at Bupa with gratitude and twitching eyes. Nodding his head, Bupa said indifferently, Son Gohan, take Son Goku and the others to Caris to learn the power of God. In the next time, I hope that you can master the power of God as soon as possible and complete the transformation of the Super Saiyan God. Supreme Kai will pay attention to those evil Shenron things, and I will send you there if there is action. Yes, add. Yes, promise. Son Gohan and others are all full of energy at the moment. Whether it is the power of God, Super Saiyan transformed, these are what they desperately want to learn. Besides, they also care a lot about the evil Naturon Shenron. After all, this matter is about Shenron, and their feelings for the latter are still extremely deep. Lord Bupa, then let's say goodbye first. Lord Bupa, let's go first. While speaking, Son Goku and the others no longer hesitated, and turned around and walked towards the area where Caris was under the leadership of Son Gohan. Brother. After Son Goku and the others left, Broly stepped forward and asked, what should we do next? This matter should not end so easily. 99. Once the evil Naturon Shenron appears, it means that the powerhouses of the multiverse will invade our universe. Speaking of which, Broly's eyes were full of solemnity. Although this time Zhai Kou's crisis was relieved, it also made him feel a strong crisis. If it weren't for Bupa and his existence, I'm afraid no one in the entire universe is his opponent. And this is just the beginning. If more and more invaders arrive in the universe, the troubles they will face will also be bigger and bigger. The main thing is that in such a situation, they must find a way to solve it completely. Not urgent. Add. Hearing this, Bupa glanced at Broly and then said, it will take some time for the multiverse to go wild. At least it won't break out until the end of the All-Universe Conference. Zeno will not allow such an outbreak to affect his own plans. So, even if there are invaders in the future, their strength cannot be too strong. At least they are all within the scope of our response. 99. Speaking of which, Bupa suddenly paused. Immediately afterwards, his eyes locked on Broly and said, Broly, you also need to work hard to improve your own strength. 35. It is extremely difficult to improve the basic combat power, but you can learn Super Saiyan 5, or you can complete the transformation of Super Saiyan 4 as soon as possible. Once you complete either of these two transformations, your strength will be greatly enhanced. So, in the next period of time, you must practice hard. Hearing this, Broly's face suddenly turned serious. He's not an idiot. How could he fail to hear what Bupa's words meant? Under the current circumstances, he really has no choice. And under such circumstances, he must solve his own hidden dangers as soon as possible, and even become stronger. I see, brother. Taking a deep breath, Broly looked at Bupa and said, leave this to me. Next, I will try my best to improve my own strength, and strive to complete the transformation of Super Saiyan 5 and Quan Jiao 4 as soon as possible. After speaking, Broly no longer hesitated, and turned around and hurriedly left the place. Seeing this, Bupa also showed a knowing smile. According to the current situation, as long as Broly works hard, it is really possible to go further. Moreover, Broly's ultimate combat power has reached the point where it is close to the 16th rank. Once it is completed, it will truly reach the 16th rank. Thinking of this, Bupa turned his head to look at Buma, who was beside him, and said with a serious expression, Buma, I need your help. 39. Hearing this, Buma was slightly taken aback. No idea what Bupa was referring to, but looking at Bupa's serious expression, she also understood the seriousness of this matter. Without the slightest hesitation, Buma said immediately, if you need my help with anything, I will do my best to help you. It is good. Hearing this, Bupa smiled slightly. Immediately afterwards, he did not hesitate to 380 or anything, and stepped forward to launch a secret technique to pass the God's gene fusion technology he got from the mind of Supreme Kai to Bulma. This technology, gene fusion, and an extremely complete gene fusion technology. After accepting all the information, Buma suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of excitement at the moment. Not for anything else, because she is well aware of the value of this technology. Even in a sense, the artificial Saiyan technology that they have been studying for so many years is not comparable to this technology. Bupa. After being excited, Bulma's eyes turned to Bupa and said, are you going to let me use this technology to create artificial Saiyan? Good. Nodding his head, Bupa didn't give a shit and said bluntly, but it's not just choosing simple genes. With that said, Bupa summoned the angel gene he had obtained before. Immediately afterwards, Bupa handed out one of the bottles and said, this one contains the fallen angel gene. I need you to focus on him, and then build with Saiyan's genes. 35. Once it is completed, the potential of this artificial Saiyan will surpass Zhai Kou and even reach an extremely terrifying level. Chapter 444 Bulma's Resolute, Caris dedicated. Beyond Zhai Kou. It's really possible to get this far. 39. With an exclamation, Buma's eyes were full of incredible. Zhai Kou's strength is in her eyes. Although it is not as good as Bupa and Broly, all that is also because Zhai Kou's previous mentality is not enough, and he has not cultivated the power of God, and has not developed his full potential. Now that all this has been solved by Bupa, it can be said that Zhai Kou's potential is definitely higher than Son Goku and others in this group of people. Only Bupa can compete with one, not even Broly. But now Bupa actually said that after the combination of the Fallen Angel gene and Saiyan gene, the existence will surpass Zhai Kou. Doesn't that mean it's time to nurture a more powerful being? And if that's the case, loyalty is a huge issue. At this moment, Bulma seemed to understand why Bupa was so serious. Not only because of its great potential, but also because of such uncertainty. Only by ensuring that such people are 100% loyal, can they be reused in the true sense, or even completely manufactured. At this moment, Bulma seemed to understand West Supreme Kai's mind. Too much potential is a good thing, but if this potential is out of control, it will turn into a huge disaster. Thinking of this, Bulma suddenly looked serious, looked at Bupa and said, I see. I will definitely cultivate artificial Saiyan who are loyal to my husband. Then I'll go to the experiment first. After finishing speaking, Buma didn't care that the two of them hadn't seen each other for a long time, and turned around and hurriedly walked towards his laboratory. Seeing this, Bupa nodded in satisfaction. With the assistance of Buma and others, it is a sure thing to create an artificial Saiyan that surpasses Zhai Kou's potential. And as long as his loyalty to himself is ensured when he is a child, there is no possibility of betrayal. At this moment, Bupa had to feel that his system was strong enough. Although it didn't let him rise to the sky in one step, it was enough for him to build an army full of loyalty. Thinking of this, Bupa didn't linger any longer, turned around and walked towards the area where Caris was. So many things have been resolved, and now it's time to have a good conversation with Caris. After all, the latter promised to marry him, so some things between the husband and wife could not be dragged on forever. Soon, Bupa arrived at Caris. It can be seen that Son Gohan, Zhai Kou and others are all learning to cultivate the power of God on the field. And Caris taught them the cultivation method of the power of God, so she didn't continue to say anything. After all, the power of God requires self-comprehension and perception. Caris, walking to the area inside the arena, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, follow me. As he said that, he stepped into the house. Seeing this, Caris smiled lightly, as if she had noticed something, and immediately followed. Soon, The two entered the room. Taking one step forward and taking Caris into his arms, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Caris, now that you are my wife, shouldn't there be some things that should be done?" "Certainly." Hearing this, Caris did not resist anything. After looking at Bupa, she immediately said, "But before proceeding, can you think about the consequences?" 99. Once I break, the news will be passed on to the Grand Priest, and your existence will be completely exposed. There is such a thing. Raising his brows, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Once broken, it will be known. This should be the restraint and management of the Angel family. No wonder the Angel family was so powerful, but no one dared to resist, and everything about cornering the other party was already under control. Once there is an uncontrollable situation, Angel will send out a strong person to completely annihilate it. Don't be afraid. Soon, Bupa came back to his senses, looked at Caris, and said, "Since you are my wife, why should I be afraid of these things?" And the so-called Angel family, I also want to see how powerful they are. As for Grand Priest, although I am not his opponent now, as long as you give me a little time, then I can definitely reach the point where he is not inferior to him. In addition to the fact that the entire universe conference is imminent, there may be problems with the runaway of multiple universes, which cannot be solved in a short period of time. 99. Even if the Grand Priest knew about it, he couldn't have come in person, and he couldn't have killed himself in the universe we were in. 35. Hearing this, Caris nodded. As Bupa said, there are just too many problems facing the Grand Priest right now. Being second only to Zeno, Grand Priest manages the vast majority of things in the universe. In addition, the whole universe conference and the multi-universe runaway are so serious. Even if you know about this, it is really impossible to come in person. I see. Taking a deep breath, Caris quickly adjusted her emotions, looked at Bupa and said, "In this case, please have mercy on my husband." It is good. With a laugh, Bupa didn't talk nonsense immediately, just picked up Caris and walked towards the house. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Master Bupa. On this day, Bupa had just finished lingering with Caris when a sudden cry came. Looking at the sound, Son Goku can be seen hurriedly approaching. Soon, Son Goku arrived at the area where Bupa was located, bowed and saluted, reporting to Lord Bupa, "News has just come from Supreme Kai, and Naturon Shenron has started to do it." According to the information perceived by the old Supreme Kai, it seems that Naturon Shenron has, good money, completely completed its own conception, destroyed a planet not long ago, and is now on its way to another planet that gave birth to life. Naturon Shenron. Raising his brows, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of surprise as he murmured, "My dear, this Naturon Shenron will be the first to jump out. If that's the case, then I would like to know what kind of power Naturon Shenron has achieved." Having said that, Bupa stood up from his seat, looked at Son Goku and said, "Son Goku, you go and call Zhai Kou, Son Gohan and to come over. I will take the three of you directly to meet Naturon Shenron, and I will also see who will eat the enemy who might invade our universe after Naturon Shenron dies." 39. Yes. With a promise, Son Goku was overjoyed at the moment. Bupa's willingness to take them the means that he can fight Naturon Shenron. Thinking of this, Son Goku immediately turned around and ran outside the house. Chapter 445. The Crisis of the Multiple Universes. Zeno's power to erase is limited. Is it about to start? At this moment, Caris stepped out of the house. When she arrived at Bupa's place, Caris sat directly in his arms, her expression a little complicated and emotional. Even Angel, they are also quite afraid of the rampage of the multiverse universe. Now this matter is more and more difficult to handle, which makes her feel a strong unease. No need to worry. Seeing Caris's thoughts, Bupa said indifferently, "It's just that the early multiverse universe went berserk. 5. In the current situation, those people from the multiverse are not enough to threaten us. It's just that I have to get rid of it as soon as possible. Only in this way can we ensure the safety of our universe." 35. Once the powerhouse invaded by the multiverse opens the time-space tunnel, it will be a disaster in the true sense. Speaking of which, a dignified look appeared in Bupa's eyes. If it was just a few intruders, he really didn't need to pay attention. But if the invasion is a universe, the number of strong people in it is absolutely incalculable. At that time, even if there are fighters of the Justice League, he is not sure that he can completely obliterate them all. Yes, the danger of a multiverse runaway is too great. 383. With a sigh, Caris' eyes were also full of worry. Although an agreement has been reached with Bupa, even the two sides have made further developments. It can be said that the current two sides cannot be separated. They are already grasshoppers on a rope. But in the face of the danger of multiple universes, even Caris has to pay attention to it. Caris. At this moment, Bupa's mind flashed, and he looked at Caris, who was on the side, and said, "Can you tell me about the rampant of the multiverse universe? Although I also know that this matter is serious and even dangerous, the specifics are not very clear." 55. With that said, Bupa's eyes focused on Caris. To be honest, he really didn't have much grasp and understanding of this matter. It is because of this that his heart is even more doubtful and curious at this moment. Taking a look at Bupa, Caris didn't sell anything, and immediately said, "The multidimensional universe is rampant, which is caused by the breaking of the obstacles between countless parallel universes. As you know, everything that exists within countless parallel universes is different. It's fine if it's just ordinary people, but many parallel universes are linked to the main universe. It's just that those parallel universes have been suppressed by the main universe before, and they can't even reach the place where the main universe is located. But this time the multiverse rampage is different. With a runaway of the main universe, many rival angels, big angels, and even the existence of Grand Priest will touch the main universe. Of course, this is not the most dangerous thing. The most dangerous thing is that there are Zeno-level existences in those parallel universes. Those guys have strengths that surpass Grand Priest, and even rival Zeno. Once they are allowed to enter the main universe, the entire main universe will go berserk. At that time, the main universe will be caught in the endless flames of war, and even with the passage of time, it is very likely that even the main universe's divine mansion may be killed, replaced, or even destroyed. After listening to Caris's story, Bupa couldn't help taking a deep breath. Although he knew the danger of the multidimensional universe running wild before, he never imagined that it would be so serious. According to what Caris told, once this multidimensional universe is really run away, the consequences are absolutely unimaginable. Wait a moment. Suddenly, Bupa seemed to have thought of something, looked at Caris and said, "What about Zeno? I remember that Zeno can erase a universe at will. If, those guys invade, wouldn't Zeno just wipe it out?" "Do not." Hearing this, Caris shook her head and said with a serious look, "This is the most troublesome thing for the multiverse to run wild." 55. That is, once the multiple universes run wild, the absolute advantage of the main universe will be gone, Zeno's power of rules will also be limited, and the universe will no longer be able to be erased. Because of this, whether it's Zeno, the angel family or the rest of the main universe gods, they will never allow the rampage of the multiverse universe to happen. I never thought that God would dare to do such a maddening thing before, which caused my plan to fall short. Speaking of which, Caris' eyes were full of resentment. But this is not for Bupa, but for Zamasia, who started the multiverse rampage. If it weren't for his abuse of the time ring, it would not have caused such serious consequences, and even the rampage of the multidimensional universe would have happened. I see. Once the multiverse runs rampant, Zeno's wiping powers can't be used. Quan Ran nodded and nodded, but Bupa felt joy in his heart at this moment, not for anything else. What he feared before was Zeno's ability to erase. After all, once he knows where he is, he can completely erase him with Zeno's power. But now it doesn't seem like that at all. The runaway of the multiple universes will directly lead to the dissipation of Zeno's erasing power, and it is impossible for GT Universe to have a similar crisis at that time. As long as his strength is comparable to that of Zeno, even if the crisis of the multiverse universe is over, he will be able to shelter GT Universe. Thinking of this, the corners of Bupa's mouth rose slightly, and then he said, "Caris, don't have to worry. Since things have happened, let's just go with the flow." Why? If Zeno and others from the Master Universe can solve this matter, then everyone will be happy. Even if they can't solve this matter, then we can protect GT Universe and ensure that our universe will not collapse during this turmoil. Hearing this, Caris also nodded. At this moment, she no longer has the intention or possibility of returning to the main universe, and naturally she also focuses on the GT Universe. Thinking of this, Caris immediately opened her mouth and said, "Bupa, the next thing will be left to you. I have already felt that my power seems to have an upward trend after combining with you. In the next period of time, I need to retreat and practice to make my strength go further." Chapter 446 Naturon Shenron appears, the defeated Super Saiyan. Going to break through. Raising his brows, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of surprise. You must know that the strength of Caris before has reached the level of 18th order. Although it is the ultimate combat power after the transformation, it is also an existence that cannot be underestimated. Now that he's about to get promoted again, that's definitely good news for Bupa. As long as Caris is stronger, the security of the entire GT universe will be more stable. I see. Returning to his senses, Bupa looked at Caris and said, "Let me handle the rest. You can improve yourself with peace of mind, and hope to go further." It is good. With a promise, Caris seemed to have noticed something, stood up from Bupa's arms and said, "Son Goku and the others have already come, so I'll go to practice first." After speaking, Caris turned around and walked towards the house. Da. Almost immediately after Caris left, a burst of hurried footsteps followed. Looking at the sound, you can see Son Goku, Son Gohan and Zhai Kou coming in a hurry. Master Bupa, Master Bupa. When they reached the area where Bupa was located, the three of them immediately bowed and saluted, their eyes filled with eagerness, and said, "Sir, when are we going?" "My lord, when are we going to meet the evil Naturon Shenron?" At this moment, They are all a little impatient, especially Son Goku. He desperately wanted to find an opponent to test the limit of his own strength. Going right now. Seeing this, the corners of Bupa's mouth rose slightly, and he immediately said, "Come here and grab my shoulders, and we will transmit it directly." Yes. 99. Add. Yes. 5. With a promise, Son Goku and the others didn't hesitate, stepped forward and grabbed Bupa's shoulder. In the next second, Bupa immediately launched instant transmission, and the group of three disappeared from the room. Unnamed planet. Rumbling, rumbling, a deafening roar resounded. Looking at the sound, it can be seen that the countless explosions in this planet are resounding, and the smoke rises and surrounds, making people feel an unpleasant aura fluctuation in the first time. Help! Escape! Escape from this place. 66.99. Countless howls resounded, and all the beings living on this planet were panicking. However, the earth at this moment is constantly shaking and bursting, and you can see a behemoth moving rapidly under the ground. As it continued to advance, countless areas collapsed and countless lives died. Zizzy, the space was distorted, and the figures of Bupa and his group of four appeared in this area. This is. Looking down, the expressions of Son Goku and the others became ugly for the first time. On the surface of the planet that has almost been destroyed, I don't know how many buildings have collapsed, and I don't know how many lives have been buried in it. Beast, die. At this moment, a low roar came. Looking at the sound, you can see that on the ground not far away, a Josei god with a crimson radiance raised his hand and sent out countless Kaigong bullets. In the next second, those Kaigong bullets attacked the raging area on the ground not far away. Rumbling, rumbling, the sound of the explosion resounded, and it could be clearly seen that the earth collapsed at this moment. Immediately afterwards, the figure of Naturon Shenron rushed out from the ground. His body was like a huge mouse, and it was attacking the Saiyan like a cannonball. Beast, die. Seeing this situation, the super race god in midair didn't dare to neglect, and immediately raised his hand to gather chi into a blade and attacked the Naturon Shenron. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. Zheng, zheng. The flames splashed. The two figures were fighting each other at this moment, and the terrifying power was constantly swept out at this moment. As time passed, in just a few breaths, the two had already fought dozens of times. But on the whole, the strength of Saiyan warriors is obviously insufficient, and the strength of Naturon Shenron is stronger. It's a Justice League fighter. Good guy. He's not even a match for the Super Saiyan god. Seeing this scene, Son Goku and others couldn't help exclaiming. Although the power of this Super Saiyan is not very strong, it is about the combat power of the 7th Order. But this is definitely a top-level combat power for the current universe, but it is not the opponent of Naturon Shenron. For a time, the fighting spirit gushed out of Son Goku. The whole person is already around the corner, and even can't wait to go to help. 0 for flowers 0. All right. Seeing this, Bupa waved his hand and said, "Let's go to." Naturon Shenron's strength is good, and I can give you some practice. It is good. Yes. With a promise, Son Goku and the others immediately followed Bupa and flew forward. When he arrived at the area inside the arena, Bupa immediately looked at where Naturon Shenron was, and secretly said, "System, check Naturon Shenron's information." In the next second, information about Naturon Shenron appeared in front of Bupa's eyes. Naturon Shenron. Add. Race, Shenron. Strength, late stage 8. Late stage 8. Taking a sizing glance, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of surprise. This is just Naturon Shenron. How could he have the combat power of the late 8th stage? You know, in the original book, this thing is completely the existence of being beaten by Super 4. Although the transformation of Super 4 is powerful, in the original work, Son Goku's fighting power at that time was around 8th order. But now what? The power of this Naturon Shenron has completely surpassed the original work, and even surpassed the Super 4 Son Goku and others in the original work, which is simply incredible. The butterfly effect. It's still because of the rampant multiverse. Underestimated in his heart, Bupa's expression changed a little at the moment. Judging from the current situation, this matter is indeed a bit bad, and Naturon Shenron alone has such power. If the Super Omega Shenron is born in the future, wouldn't its combat power exceed tier 10? At this moment, a scream resounded. Looking at the reputation, it can be seen that the super race god in midair was pierced through the lower abdomen by Naturon Shenron's sneak attack. With a scream, the Josei god fell from the sky and smashed to the ground, and the whole person lay there completely unable to move. In the face of absolute power, the Josei god, who only has a combat power of the late 7th stage, is obviously not his opponent. Not good. Seeing this, Bupa's expression changed. Immediately afterwards, he didn't care what he was thinking, and immediately said, "Son Goku, you go meet him." Yes. With a promise, Son Goku couldn't wait any longer. After receiving Bupa's order, he rushed out and attacked the Naturon Shenron 7. Chapter 447 Son Goku vs Naturon Shenron. Special Pressure Magnetic Field. Add. Naturon Shenron, your opponent is me. With a loud shout, Son Goku immediately turned into a Super 4. Immediately after, his figure arrived at the area where Naturon Shenron was located, and without any hesitation, he slammed into his face with a punch. Son Goku. Seeing the person coming, Naturon Shenron's eyes instantly burst out with anger. For Son Goku, all evil dragons are filled with anger and the murder in their hearts. At this moment Son Goku appeared in front of his eyes. He naturally did not hesitate, and attacked Son Goku without hesitation. As for the artificial Saiyan who had been defeated before, he didn't care, or even didn't care at all. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. A deafening roar resounded, and the two figures were fighting frantically in midair. But overall Son Goku is still at a disadvantage, not even Naturon Shenron's opponent at all. What happened? Son Goku is acting. Looking at this scene, Bupa wrinkled slightly every day. Although Son Goku's Super 4 only has the perfect combat power of Tier 7, he is not inferior to Naturon Shenron by his means. But now that Son Goku is being suppressed so tightly that he doesn't even have much resistance at all, which is a bit surprising. Master Bupa, add. At this moment, a weak voice came. Looking at the sound, I can see that the man-made Saiyan came in a hurry. When they arrived at the area where Bupa and the others were, the man quickly said, there is something wrong with Naturon Shenron. He has a special magnetic field all over him. Apostrophe. Under the influence of that magnetic field, I can only exert about 70% of my strength, and I can't do 100% battle at all. I see. After hearing the artificial Saiyan's words, Bupa suddenly understood what was going on. There's a reason why Son Goku has been suppressed to such a degree, and it seems to have a lot to do with it. I see. After returning to his senses, Bupa glanced at the artificial Saiyan, took out a fairy bin and threw it to him. Eat it. Your injury is not minor, and you quickly regain your strength. Yes. 35. With a promise, Saiyan didn't dare to neglect, and ate the fairy bins directly. He also knew how bad his current situation was. If the injury cannot be repaired as soon as possible, it is likely to be life-threatening. Even if it is artificial Saiyan, it does not mean that he will not die. And when Buma and others made artificial Saiyan, in order to ensure that it inherits 100% of Saiyan's potential and ability, they did not integrate the rest of the cells into it. This also leads to artificial Saiyan, although the potential is good, but there is no recovery method similar to Cell, Piccolo and others. Gudu. Immortal Bin was eating, and the injury on the artificial Saiyan quickly recovered as before. Feeling that his injuries had completely recovered, artificial Saiyan breathed a sigh of relief, bowed to Bupa and said, "Thank you, sir." Add, "No problem." With a wave of his hand, Bupa glanced at the man and said, "I'm very glad that you can come here. However, your strength still needs to be tempered well. Although the infinite energy furnace can support you to perform the Super Saiyan God transformation indefinitely, your mastery of the Super Saiyan God transformation is obviously insufficient. After I go back, I will find more people to practice against, and strive to complete the running in as soon as possible, so as to master the power of Super Ace God transformation in the true sense." This is not a Bupa joke. Although artificial Saiyan's Super Saiyan is transformed and flawed, but with the help of infinite energy furnace, all this can be changed. Because of this, artificial Saiyan can transform Super Saiyan into a state similar to full power. In this state, the power increase of Super Saiyan's transformation will increase by about 2 times. Of course, if you want to reach such a level, it will take a long time to cultivate, or it is because your own talent is enough. Yes. Saying yes, Saiyan bowed and saluted. "Don't worry, Lord Bupa, I will practice hard after I go back." Nodding, Bupa waved his hand and said, "You go first." 35. Leave this to me. 99. Let the fighters of the Justice League keep an eye on the rest of the universe and be ready to fight at any time. Yes. As soon as he agreed, Saiyan no longer hesitated. After clenching his fists at Bupa, he immediately launched instant transmission and left. According to Bupa's request that year, the artificial Saiyan went to the planet Adred to study. Because of this, each of them will now have instant transmission, although not the Supreme Kai version, but enough to allow them to travel freely between planets. Master Bupa. Add. When Saiyan left, Son Gohan on the side was a little worried and said, "Would you like me to help Dad? He's clearly not the match for that Naturon Shenron now, and if it continues, I'm worried." "No need to worry." Seeing this, Bupa waved his hand and said indifferently, "If Son Goku is only this power, then I can't value him." 39. Although the presence of a magnetic field around Naturon Shenron can affect a person's combat effectiveness, Son Goku's wisdom will soon come up with a solution. 35. And Son Goku has also learned the power of God now, but it has not yet reached the stage of application. 99. Just take this opportunity to let Naturon Shenron suppress him. Maybe he can use this force to suppress him further. Hearing this, Son Gohan nodded immediately. He understood what Bupa was referring to, and if Son Goku went further, he would definitely be able to reach rank 8. In addition, once Son Goku really completes the transformation of the Super Saiyan God, his combat power will reach about rank 9. In this case, Naturon Shenron can't be Son Goku's 0.7 hand, but will become one of his nutrients. Of course, The premise of all this is that Son Goku can withstand Naturon Shenron's current suppression, or even complete a breakthrough. Thinking of this, Son Gohan no longer insisted on anything, and just stood there and waited patiently. Under such circumstances, the battle between Son Goku and Naturon Shenron in midair intensified. As the fierce battle between the two became more and more intense, the entire planet vibrated violently at this moment. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The roar continued to resound, and Naturon Shenron's attack became more and more sharp, which directly caused Son Goku's injuries to become more and more serious. Damn, I can't drag it any longer. Feeling his own injury, Son Goku's face turned serious now. Chapter 448, The Seriously Injured Son Goku. The Super Saiyan transformed into despair. Thinking of this, a firm look suddenly appeared in Son Goku's eyes. With a low growl, Son Goku immediately activated the Kaioken 10 times. With the rising of the Crimson Aura, his power has reached the level of 8th order. Immediately afterwards, Son Goku rushed out and attacked where Naturon Shenron was. With a loud bang, Naturon Shenron was kicked out by Son Goku. However, Naturon Shenron did not fall to the ground, and only stabilized after stepping back a certain distance. When the figure was completely stable, Naturon Shenron's eyes immediately locked on Son Goku's body, and he gritted his teeth. Damn it, don't think that the improvement of strength can defeat me. 5. Since you can improve your own strength, then I can continue to suppress you. Saying that, Naturon Shenron roared violently. In the next second, a khaki brilliance can be seen appearing around him within a range of tens of meters. Impressively, it was a magnetic field, and it is the magnetic field after materialization. According to the breath fluctuations emanating from this magnetic field, as long as you are not stupid, you can clearly feel the pressure. After doing all this, Naturon Shenron no longer hesitated, and without hesitation, he attacked Son Goku again. Kill. Seeing this, Son Goku was not timid, took a deep breath and stepped forward. The next second, the two figures fought together in midair again. But this time, Son Goku was suppressed again, and even his whole person's strength, speed and reflexes were greatly reduced. This also caused Naturon Shenron's attack to be like a violent storm, and Son Goku himself suffered a huge blow. In just a few breaths, it was clear that Son Goku had been attacked dozens of times. As a result, Son Goku was covered in blood and even had broken ribs in several places. The screams came out. Son Goku's own injuries became more and more serious under the situation of being suppressed in this way, and it was obvious that he couldn't hold on anymore. Seeing this, Son Gohan on the ground panicked. Never thought that Son Goku was injured so badly. If this cannot be solved as soon as possible, the consequences are absolutely unimaginable. Immediately, Son Gohan jumped up and went to rescue Son Goku. Zhai Kou, stop him. However, before Son Gohan could act, Bupa was the first to speak. Yes, Lord Bupa. After agreeing, Zhai Kou did not hesitate, and blocked Son Gohan with a dodge. Brother, you have to trust Dad. He will surely defeat that ugly mouse. Hearing this, Son Gohan's expression changed. He knew what Zhai Kou was referring to. But seeing Son Goku so injured, he couldn't calm down. But he also understood that he could not break through Zhai Kou's blockade. After going through the previous events, Zhai Kou's strength was far beyond his ability to compare. Master Bupa. Subconsciously, Son Gohan turned to look at Bupa, his eyes full of urgency and concern. It doesn't have to be. In response, Bupa waved his hand casually, and then said, if it is really serious to the point of life-threatening, then I will rescue Son Goku as soon as possible. But now he obviously still has the strength to fight, and this kind of life and death battle is what Saiyan needs. Hearing this, Son Gohan fell silent. He knew what Bupa said was true, but watching Son Goku being abused, he was still extremely unbearable. But now, he also understands that he can't intervene in anything. After taking a deep breath, he just floats to the ground. Immediately afterwards, Son Gohan turned away from watching the fight in the arena, obviously not wanting to see Son Goku in such a state. In this regard, Bupa nodded in satisfaction. Son Gohan didn't disobey his orders, which was good for him. Subconsciously, Bupa looked at Son Goku not far away, and muttered, Son Goku, don't let me down. Get out of here. Seeming to hear Bupa's words, Son Goku at this moment burst into a drink. In the next second, it can be seen that the crimson brilliance around his body is even stronger, and a punch directly knocks Naturon Shenron back again. But the Son Goku at the moment did not perform a Super Saiyan God transformation, but launched a 20-fold Kaioken. Although the strength has increased a lot again, its own strength is not able to pose a huge threat to that Naturon Shenron. Under such circumstances, Naturon Shenron just paused, and then without hesitation attacked Son Goku again. Seeing this situation, Son Goku had no resistance at all. His whole body kept dodging, shaking, dodging. His eyes were full of impatience and unwillingness. He knew very well that he was no match for Naturon Shenron. Even if he activates 20 times Kaioken, the gap between him and himself is still huge. Not to mention that the special magnetic field of Naturon Shenron directly weakened his own strength, and even his speed and reaction force were obviously insufficient. For a time, Son Goku's face changed and he was attacked by Naturon Shenron on one side, while on the other side he began to try to mobilize the spiritual power of cultivation in his body. In this case, time flies by quickly. Under such circumstances, Son Goku directly became a living target of Naturon Shenron, and even the injuries on his body were serious enough to threaten his life. Suddenly, a loud shout of 383 resounded, with the red brilliance rushing straight into the sky. The entire planet shook at this moment. With the breath of God's power sweeping out, it can be clearly seen that Son Goku, who is in the Super 4 form at this moment, has completed the transformation of the Super Saiyan God. In an instant, the aura around Son Goku disappeared. In the case of completing the Super Saiyan God, his strength has directly reached the level of the early stage of the ninth order. Not only that, because he has become a god, the magnetic field of Naturon Shenron cannot pose a threat to him. With just a dodge, Son Goku avoided Naturon Shenron's attack, and then threw a punch, and one of Naturon Shenron's arms exploded into a dance of blood in an instant. The screams resounded, and Naturon Shenron quickly retreated. When the figure is stable, it can be seen that one of his arms has disappeared. Blood is constantly spraying, and his whole face is gloomy to the extreme at this moment. Staring at the area where Son Goku was, Naturon Shenron gritted his teeth and said, "Damn Son Goku, what kind of power are you?" Such a power is completely impossible for Saiyan to master. 99. At this moment, Naturon Shenron was impatient and restless in his heart. The sudden transformation of the Super Saiyan God made him feel the threat of death, and even the fluctuations emanating from Son Goku made him feel oppression and fear. Chapter 449 Naturon Shenron falls, another world tunnel opens. Success. Dad completed the super race and transformed into a god. So handsome. Is this the new form after the combination of Super 4 and Super Saiyan? On the ground, Son Gohan cheered excitedly. He was extremely excited that Son Goku really completed the transformation of Super Saiyan and Super 4 fusion at this critical moment. After all, he knew exactly what it meant. Combining Jiao Si and Jiao Sai God, Son Goku's power has completely surpassed Naturon Shenron. In addition, the power of God will not be interfered and hindered by the magnetic field, which also makes it impossible for Son Goku to be 100 times more powerful. Did you make it? Feeling his own condition, Son Goku's eyes gleamed. To be honest, he was also quite surprised. I just wanted to try it out, but I didn't expect it to be done all at once. For a time, the smile on Son Goku's face became stronger and stronger, and his eyes locked on Naturon Shenron not far away and said, "Naturon Shenron, let's continue." Damn. Hearing this, the fear in Naturon Shenron's eyes flashed away. Judging from the current situation, the one who continues to fight and die will definitely be himself, which is absolutely unacceptable to him. Thinking of this, Naturon Shenron subconsciously wanted to evacuate. Knowing that there is not much chance of winning, Naturon Shenron does not intend to put himself in danger. Want to go? Seeing this, Son Goku's eyes filled with murderous intent. Naturon Shenron is one of the sources of cholera, and if this leaves him, universe will be in crisis. Thinking of this, Son Goku immediately ran to where Naturon Shenron was, and said in a low voice, "You will definitely not be able to leave today. Naturon Shenron, take it easy." With a low roar resounding, Son Goku's figure has arrived in the area where Naturon Shenron is. Without any hesitation, Son Goku raised his fist. First, the sound of the dragon's roar resounded, and as the dragon fist erupted, Son Goku's figure immediately turned into a golden dragon. The next second, the golden dragon pierced through the huge body of Naturon Shenron. The unwilling roar resounded, Naturon Shenron's eyes widened, and the eyes were full of regret and panic. Not for anything else, because he clearly felt the rapid passing of his own life breath. It is precisely because of this that Naturon Shenron has absolutely no possibility of continuing to survive. For a time, Naturon Shenron's inner resentment also became extremely strong, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Damn Son Goku, I will never die with you. Son Goku, you wait for me, I won't let you go. Even if I die, I want all of you to be buried with me." Saying that, Naturon Shenron clenched his teeth sharply, and the 7-star Dragon Ball above his head was dazzling. Buzz 1. With the humming sound, you can clearly see that the 7-star Dragon Ball is bursting with a special brilliance at this moment. It was because of the appearance of this brilliance that Naturon Shenron's body burst into a blood dance. Immediately afterwards, the blood dance was absorbed by the 7-star Dragon Ball at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, the stars in the 7-star Dragon Ball were dazzling, and a special wave of space surged out. Immediately afterwards, a special space tunnel could be seen quietly appearing in that area. Not good. 35. The space tunnel is open. 35. Seeing this, Bupa's expression changed. Before, he also doubted how Naturon Shenron and others connected to the people of the multiverse universe. It now appears that their power to link the multiverse comes from Dragon Ball itself. And looking at this posture, unless the 7-star Dragon Ball is captured as soon as possible. Otherwise, when the space tunnel is distorted, the consequences will be unimaginable. After all, this space tunnel is likely to be connected to the multidimensional universe. When the powerhouses in the world are aware of the crossing, it will inevitably lead to a war, or even. Gohan, you took Son Goku to a side area to recuperate. 35. Without any hesitation, Bupa took out a fairy bin and threw it towards Son Gohan's area. Yes, with a promise, Son Gohan is well aware of the seriousness of the situation at this moment. Without the slightest hesitation, he took the fairy bins and galloped towards Son Goku. Under the current circumstances, Son Goku's injuries are extremely serious. Although Naturon Shenron is dead, the passage to the multiverse universe is also opened. In the case of unsure of the opponent's strength, it is still necessary to help Son Goku to repair his own injury first. Thinking of this, Son Gohan quickly rushed to the area where Son Goku was located. Master Bupa. At this time, Zhai Kou, who was on the side, floated up and said with a serious expression, "Why don't I go check it out?" He could clearly feel that the fluctuation of the breath transmitted from the space tunnel was quite strong. It was a huge test and threat even for him. But in order to ensure Bupa's safety, he decided to let himself go check it out. No need! Add. In response, Bupa waved his hand and said, "We just need to wait now." Then Naturon Shenron sacrificed himself to open the space tunnel, but the tunnel that spans universe and time and space cannot be opened casually. Even the power of Naturon Shenron will not last long, and the space tunnel will collapse and collapse. Under such circumstances, rushing into it will not do us any good. On the contrary, we can wait patiently here, and as long as the people among them come over, we will take action to suppress them. Hearing this, Zhai Kou nodded immediately. He could understand Bupa's plan at this moment, that is to wait and see. At the same time, Bupa does not want to take risks for some uncertain factors, nor does Zhai Kou want to take risks. Gudu. At the other end, Son Goku has eaten the Sen Bean. With a restoration of Xiandu's power, his injury quickly recovered as before. In just a few breaths, Son Goku's face turned ruddy, and he looked at Son Gohan and said, "Gohan, I have completed the transformation of the Super Ace God. Now that my power has reached the level of rank 9, I can finally have the power to fight." Hearing this, Son Gohan gave a wry smile. He didn't know what Son Goku was referring to. It was obvious that he wanted to fight himself. But now is not the time to discuss. Son Gohan took a deep breath and said solemnly, "Dad, now is not the time to talk about this." Then Naturon Shenron has opened the space tunnel, and the powerhouse from another world will come soon, so let's go back to Lord Bupa and wait for the news. Good. 35. Hearing this, Son Goku's expression also became solemn. He is also aware of the multiverse threats and seriousness. Immediately, the father and son Son Goku and Son Gohan raced towards the area where Bupa was located. Chapter 450 Enemies of Another World. The Vegeta Trio. Master Bupa. Master Bupa. Soon, Son Goku and Son Gohan arrived in Bupa's area. After bowing and bowing, the two of them also looked at the space tunnel and asked curiously, "Is this a space tunnel connecting to another world? It seems that there is nothing special about it, but it is incredible to be able to link two different worlds." 66.99. At this moment, both Son Goku and Son Gohan were full of emotion. It was the first time they had experienced such a thing, even if they had met Zhai Kou before. But at that time, Zhai Kou and Zhai Supreme Kai only appeared in the universe and did not appear directly on the earth, so Son Goku did not see the scene where they appeared. "Don't be careless." Seeing this, Bupa waved his hand immediately, and then said, "I feel the aura rushing towards me." 99. If nothing else, the powerhouses of another world are already coming towards us. Be prepared. Once they appear, then take them down. If they resist stubbornly, then kill them directly. Yes. 387 agreed. Zhai Kou, Son Goku and Son Gohan all looked solemn at the moment. Neither were they stupid, and they knew exactly what Bupa was referring to, and even more so that the probability that the intruder was a friend was too low, too low. Call out. Call out. At this moment, several piercing sounds resounded. Looking at the reputation, 3 figures could be seen flying out of the space tunnel and appearing directly in the area in front of Bupa and the others. Wow, is this another universe? Add. It looks pretty good. It seems to be much richer than the breath of life in our universe. Yes, there is a lot of breath in this world, and it seems that it is indeed a good place. If we can occupy it, it will definitely be good news for us. 99. 66.99. Conversation resumed. The 3 powerhouses who appeared in this area did not notice the existence of Bupa and others, but looked around with excitement. The 3 are Vegeta, Nappa and Raditz. On the contrary, Son Goku and Son Gohan frowned at the moment, looking at the figure appearing in front of them in astonishment, their expressions full of shock and shock. No room for him, not to be shocked. You know, the 3 Vegeta within the GT universe have long since died. But I didn't expect that the 3 people in the other world were not dead, and they all seem to be very powerful. Interesting. It's actually the three of them. It seems that within that universe, the three Vegeta seem to have become the strongest. Bupa was also a little surprised at the moment. After taking a deep look at the three, he immediately said, "System, check the information of the three." In the next second, the information of the three Vegeta appeared in front of Bupa's eyes. Vegeta, race, Saiyan, bloodline, royal family, combat strength, late stage 9, transformation, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan 5, ability, Prince Tactics, Final Flash. Nappa, race, Saiyan, add, bloodline, superior, combat strength, early stage 9, transformation, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, ability, Final Astigmatism, artificial moon. Raditz, race, Saiyan, bloodline, superior, combat strength, early stage 9, transformation, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, ability, destruction beam, death ray. Good guy. Super 5, Super 4. No wonder these three guys are able to dominate, with the basic combat power of the 9th order, plus the transformation of the Super 4 and 5, even the powerhouse of the 11th order may not be able to win them. 55. After reading the information of the three, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of horror. You must know that the 9th order combat power is the existence of the strong in the main universe. In addition, they can also transform, which is a gods of destruction level combat power. Especially Vegeta. He can complete the transformation of Super 5, which means that his combat power is likely to be close to the level of 11th order, which is the stage that gods of destruction can only achieve with all his strength. Thinking of this, the corners of Bupa's mouth rose slightly, and he said, "Son Goku, go and Zhai Kou, go and meet those three guys." Their basic combat power is at the level of 9th rank, especially Vegeta. His basic strength has reached the level of late 9th rank. Hiss. After listening to Bupa's remarks, Son Goku couldn't help gasping for breath. The basic combat power is tier 9. This is definitely a huge shock to him. After all, now that he has transformed into a Super 4 and Super Sailor, his combat power has only reached the level of the middle stage of the 9th rank. But it is obviously impossible for the three Vegeta in front of them not to transform, which also means that once they display the transformation ability, he will have no resistance. Thinking of this, Son Goku subconsciously said, "Lord Bupa, isn't I their opponent?" However, after his words were finished, Son Goku and Zhai Kou on the side didn't take it seriously. Although they were surprised that the basic combat power of the three had reached rank 9, it was not enough to pose a threat to them. After looking at each other, Zhai Kou spoke first. "Let's go." Saying that, Zhai Kou flew towards the three of Vegeta. Seeing this, Son Gohan followed closely, and Son Goku hesitated for a while and didn't stay any longer. Call out! Call out! The sound of breaking through the air resounded, and the three figures of Son Goku appeared in the area in front of the three of Vegeta. "Yo, Vegeta." When he was stable, Son Goku said hello immediately. Although the Vegeta in front of me is not the existence of GT Universe, Son Goku still recognizes the latter. It's just that Vegeta of GT Universe went too far and even offended Bupa, which eventually led to his own death, and is even suppressed in hell now. "You are?" Seeing Son Goku, Vegeta frowned. He doesn't know Son Goku, but he can feel that the three Son Goku appearing in front of him are Saiyan. Kakarot. At this time, Raditz in the side area recognized Son Goku for the first time. In his world, Son Goku was also his younger brother, but he didn't go to Earth, and he didn't grow to such a degree. Immediately afterwards, Raditz said, "No, you are not Kakarot. At least it's not my useless younger brother." After all, Kakarot's strength is only around the 3rd rank, and it is completely impossible to reach such a level. Chapter 451 Son Goku vs Nappa, Son Gohan's Outbreak. Kakarot. It's Raditz's younger brother. Nappa glanced at Son Goku in surprise, then said, "This is really surprising." 39. I didn't expect that the powerhouse in this universe would be Kakarot. Sure enough, our Saiyan's bloodline is still strong, and we don't know if the Vegeta star in this world has been destroyed. If not, then occupy this universe, then we. Before Nappa finished speaking, Son Goku in the side area was the first to speak. "Nappa, we will not surrender to you and wait. And we, universe, don't welcome your presence. You'd better leave this place as soon as possible." Although he knew that the enemy was the one who committed the crime, it was Saiyan after all, and Son Goku couldn't bear to kill him here. Most of all, Vegeta's death in GT Universe made him feel quite guilty, especially Raditz. Although Son Goku thought about resurrecting the other party, he gave up the idea after going to hell to see the other party. But after all, the latter is his elder brother, and seeing the exact same Raditz at the moment, he is naturally a little bit helpless. Insanity. Hearing this, Nappa was instantly furious. It was a shame that Kakarot dared to look down on himself and others like that. For a time, Nappa's aura became violent. His eyes locked on Son Goku and said, "Kakarot, it seems that you have not learned to fear the strong." 99. If that's the case, then you will have to pay the price for your own actions today. Saying that, Nappa jumped out and attacked Son Goku. Caught death. Seeing this, Zhai Kou's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he was about to step forward immediately. Give it to me. However, before Zhai Kou could act, Son Goku on the side was the first to speak. Whether it's Vegeta or Raditz, I'm a little overwhelmed. Since the battle is inevitable, leave this Nappa to me. Hearing this, Zhai Kou's actions were taken aback. He really hadn't thought about such a thing. Son Goku didn't want to shoot Vegeta and Raditz. Since that's the case, then he can't refute anything, so he resisted the anger in his heart and said, "So, Dad, be careful yourself. It is good." As soon as he agreed, Son Goku took a deep breath and immediately shouted, "Ha!" In the next second, Son Goku immediately transformed into Super 4 and Super Saiyan. In an instant, Son Goku's power reached the level of the mid-9th order. Immediately afterwards, without hesitating, he directly stepped forward and raised his fist to bombard Nappa's fist together. Click! The fists collided together, and a shattering sound resounded quietly. The next second, Nappa's face froze, and the whole person couldn't help screaming. It can be seen that his arm was broken in an instant, and the whole person was knocked out by Son Goku in one punch. Yo, the power of the middle stage of the 9th order. Kakarot, you are indeed stronger than you in my world. There was a hint of surprise in Raditz's eyes, and some really couldn't believe the scenery in front of him. Waste. On the other hand, Vegeta snorted coldly at the moment, glanced at Son Goku, then looked down at Nappa on the ground and said, "Nappa, if you don't want to die, get up for me." Even a mere inferior Saiyan can't do anything. What qualifications do you have to follow behind me? 9. As soon as these words came out, Nappa's figure on the ground slowly walked out of the dust. The whole person exudes a strong and icy aura, looking at Son Goku with murderous eyes. Kakarot, you are courting death. He also didn't expect that he would be defeated by Son Goku. Even if there is no real defeat, one of his hands is still broken and cannot be recovered in a short time. For a time, the murderous intention in Nappa's heart became more and more intense, and he suddenly clenched his fists and shouted, "Ha!" The next second, red hair appeared all over Nappa's body. But the only exception was that his head was still bald and no hair grew out. But even so, Nappa's breath is not to be underestimated. As he completed the Super 4 transformation, the aura of the whole person also reached the level of the middle 10th order. Immediately afterwards, Nappa slammed on the ground, and the whole person jumped out and attacked Son Goku. Not good. When the crisis struck, Son Goku's face changed quietly. He can clearly feel how powerful Nappa's power is at the moment, which is completely beyond his ability to match now. 0 flowers 0. But letting him retire under such circumstances is obviously not something Son Goku is willing to accept. With a loud shout, Son Goku directly activated the Kaioken 20 times, and the power of the whole person reached the level of the late 9th order. At this moment, immediately afterwards, Son Goku went straight to the front and fought with Nappa. However, the reality is cruel. In the sheer power disparity, Son Goku is clearly no match for Nappa. After just fighting a dozen moves, Son Goku was beaten all over by Nappa. Even the current Son Goku Super Saiyan and Super 4 can no longer be maintained. Death to me. Seeing that Son Goku's strength was greatly reduced, Nappa didn't show any mercy, raised his fist without hesitation and aimed at Son Goku's face. Not good. Dad. Seeing this, Son Gohan's face changed greatly. He could clearly feel Son Goku's crisis at the moment, and he knew that the opponent could not be Nappa's opponent. Thinking of this, Son Gohan didn't care about anything else, and the whole person jumped out and appeared in the area in front of Son Goku. With a low roar, Son Gohan also transformed into the Super 4 and Super Race God form. Immediately after that, Son Gohan's body shot out a force that was close to the 11th rank. Without the slightest hesitation, Son Gohan reached out and grabbed the punch that Nappa had attacked. It's impossible. Staring blankly at Son Gohan in front of him, Nappa opened his mouth and his eyes were full of incredible colors. Not for anything else, because he knew very well how bad the situation in front of him was. Especially the breath that Son Gohan exudes at this moment makes him feel the threat of death. Nothing is impossible. With a cold smile, Son Gohan looked at Nappa and said, "If you dare to hurt my father, I will kill you today." Saying that, Son Gohan suddenly exerted his strength. Click. The sound of shattering resounded, and Nappa's only remaining arm was directly broken. Heart-piercing screams resounded. Nappa's face was ferocious at this moment. Blue veins appeared on his forehead, and he screamed in pain, "Vegeta, save me! Raditz, save me!" 7. Chapter 452. Desperate Nappa, Zhai Kou's wrath. However, neither Vegeta nor Raditz paid any attention to Nappa's request for help. Clearly, the duo did not intend to rescue Nappa. Not only that, Raditz sneered at the moment. "Nappa, you can't even beat Kakarot's children, you are just trash." Hearing this, Nappa was dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Vegeta and Raditz will actually see their own death. Especially when he felt that Son Gohan's attack was getting more and more sharp, and he even had the fear of his own life. The uneasiness in his eyes became more intense. Immediately afterwards, Nappa immediately shouted, "Save me, Luo, Vegeta, come and save me. Once I die, then you have no one to truly support you." However, at the moment Vegeta is extremely indifferent. 387. After glancing at Nappa, Vegeta said indifferently, "Nappa, do you think I don't know the little things you do behind my back?" 99. You want to kill me and replace me? Do you really think I know nothing? Since you have no chance of winning today, then die here and use all your strength to defend the majesty of Saiyan. 99. And it is Saiyan who will deal with you. As King Saiyan, it is impossible for me to intervene in the fight between Saiyans. As soon as these words came out, Nappa's face turned ashen. He knew that Vegeta would not rescue him, let alone Raditz, who had never dealt with him. For a time, Nappa was desperate. There was no hope for help, and in such a situation, he could only turn his target to Son Gohan and said, "Don't kill me. Do not kill me. I can surrender to you. I can surrender to you, as long as you don't kill me. I can also tell you about the world I live in." Ad 66. 99. Hearing this, Son Gohan frowned and looked at Nappa with a hint of disdain. Those who are greedy for life and fear of death, this is definitely Saiyan's scum, and even an existence that people don't like. Thinking of this, Son Gohan smiled coldly. "Nappa, your so-called begging for mercy doesn't make any sense. We're not interested in your universe either. After all, we're not like you and want to invade other people." Saying that, Son Gohan raised his hand and was about to kill Nappa completely. No. Seeing this, Nappa panicked completely. He knew that his life and death were all in Son Gohan's hands. But at this moment, he has no resistance, not even any possibility of surviving. Including Son Goku on the side, did not help at the moment. After all, it was an intruder, and Son Goku also understood how strong the latter's threat was, and naturally it was impossible for him to continue to survive. Wait a moment. In the nick of time, Bupa's voice resounded quietly, "Gohan, throw the seal of Nappa's power over here." 35. As soon as these words came out, Son Gohan's fist that reached Nappa's eyes suddenly froze. Immediately afterwards, Son Gohan turned his head and glanced at Bupa not far away, and then said, "I see, Lord Bupa." With that, Son Gohan punched Nappa's valve. The screams resounded, and it could be seen that the breath around Nappa was instantly sluggish. When the valve was broken, Nappa was seriously injured in an instant. Although the whole person was not worried about his life, he was no longer able to raise his breath and fight. "You're lucky." Having done all this, Son Gohan glanced at Nappa and immediately threw it towards Bupa's area without hesitation. Bang! Hit hard and fell to the ground. Nappa's whole body was in pain. But at this moment, he didn't care about howling. His eyes were fixed on where Bupa was. His eyes were full of worry and anxiety. He is not an idiot. From Son Gohan's reaction, it can be seen that the guy in front of him is definitely the head of a group. This also means that his own life and death are in the middle of a single thought, which is definitely something Nappa would not dare to make. That person looks very strong. Meanwhile, Vegeta and Raditz's eyes were now on Bupa. Seeing Bupa's indifferent expression, both of them frowned and felt a little pressure, especially Raditz. His strength is almost the same as Nappa. There is not much chance of winning. Everything needs to rely on the existence of Vegeta. But now seeing Son Gohan's respectful devotion to Bupa, his unease has reached its peak. 0. Nappa. Glancing at Nappa on the ground, Bupa raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Tell me the information about your universe. As long as your words satisfy me, then I can still leave you with a life." While Nappa bar is GT universe's Saiyan, it's not even a good thing. But Bupa didn't care either. Only a mere 10th order combat power, life and death did not mean much to him. On the contrary, he is quite curious about the universe where Nappa and others are. Vegeta can cultivate to the Super 5 state, which means that their universe is very strong, and it is definitely not comparable to ordinary people. The main thing is, since they all have the potential to transform into Super 4 and Super 5, what about the rest of the Saiyan in their universe? It is good. Hearing this, Nappa nodded and did not dare to neglect. He knew that Bupa wasn't talking casually, and he knew that his own life lay in the air. Immediately, Nappa said, "The world I am in." Go to hell. 35. However, before Nappa could say more, Vegeta in the distant area suddenly shot. It can be seen that Qui-Gon bullets swept out and attacked the area where Bupa and Nappa were located. The prince's tactics covered all around, targeting Bupa and Nappa, intending to kill them together. Presumptuous. Vegeta, you are courting death at 0.7. Seeing this, Son Gohan and Zhai Kou's expressions suddenly became ugly. To actually dare to shoot Bupa, this is simply an act of death. Without any hesitation, Zhai Kou dodged and blocked the area in front of Bupa. Immediately afterwards, Zhai Kou didn't talk nonsense, and directly controlled countless Qui-Gon bombs to attack. The next second, Zhai Kou and Vegeta's Qui-Gon bullets collided in midair. Rumbling, the deafening roar resounded, and the two Qui-Gon bombs were directly cancelled in midair. After doing all this, Zhai Kou dodged to the area inside the arena and said, "Son Gohan, leave this Vegeta to me. How about you deal with it, Raditz?" Chapter 453 Son Gohan vs Raditz. The terrifying spiritual fruit. It is good. Glancing at Zhai Kou, Son Gohan nodded immediately. He also wasn't sure he would be able to deal with Vegeta, and from what Bupa said before, Vegeta's power is definitely not something he can match and contend with now. Thinking of this, Son Gohan immediately said, "Just do as you say." After finishing speaking, Son Gohan's gaze immediately locked on Raditz, who was not far away, and said, "Raditz, come on. 5. I'll be your opponent." You. Looking at Son Gohan, Raditz couldn't help frowning. To be honest, he really wanted to kill the opponent, but he also vaguely felt that his own strength was inferior to the opponent. After all, he had seen the scene of Son Gohan crushing Nappa before, and even if he shot it himself, it was impossible to compete with it. But in the current situation, he seems to have no choice. Subconsciously, Raditz turned his head and looked at Vegeta in the side area. "Vegeta, look." 20. Go. In this regard, Vegeta waved his hand, and then said, "In the event of a last resort, I allow you to use that." Good. 35. Hearing this, Raditz's eyes lit up. It seemed that it was clear what Vegeta was referring to, and the whole person suddenly became full of self-confidence. "You are Kakarot's child." Leaning forward, Raditz looked at Son Gohan and said, "If you say that, then you are still my nephew. Are you really going to fight me?" You know, once you do it, death awaits you." 35. On the other hand, if you choose to surrender, then I can tell Vegeta that you can leave your life at that time. Hearing this, Son Gohan shook his head. He didn't know what Raditz's confidence came from, but he couldn't choose to surrender. And he doesn't think Vegeta and others can occupy GT Universe, let alone whether they can beat himself and others. Broly alone is enough to kill them all countless times, not to mention the existence of Bupa and Caris. Thinking of this, Son Gohan immediately said, "Uncle, let's do it. In the past, you invaded the earth and died with your father. Today I will send you on the road." Speaking of which, a trace of hatred flashed in Son Gohan's eyes. Although Son Goku and others have been resurrected, it was a huge blow to him when he was young. Son Goku's death, it was because of that incident that he knew the importance of strength from an early age. It was precisely because of that incident that he finally had to walk on an extremely painful truth. And the initiator of all this is Raditz. If the latter did not appear on Earth, then Vegeta and the others would not have invaded the Earth, and many of the following things would not have happened. Perish together. That Rashmi and Kakarot. Raising his brows, Raditz's eyes were full of incredible colors. Subconsciously looked at Son Goku not far away and said, "It's really surprising news. It's really beyond my expectation that my trash brother has such a skill. But since you're so ignorant, I won't be accustomed to you." Saying that, Lattice let out a low roar, and crimson air gushed from his body, and immediately turned into a Super 4 form. After doing all this, Lattice rushed out and attacked Son Gohan. Good come. Seeing this situation, Son Gohan let out a low growl, and without any hesitation, he went up to fight with Raditz. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. For a time, the two figures were madly fighting together in midair. As time went by, the battle between the two became more intense and even more powerful. In just a few breaths, Raditz fell into the downwind. His strength is similar to Nappa. Even if he transforms into a Super 4, it is only about the strength of the middle 10th order. But the current Son Gohan has mastered the 11th level combat power, which is not comparable to him at all. Damn it. Seeing this, Raditz was furious. Although he was well prepared, he still felt extremely aggrieved under such circumstances. Just the son of Kakarot, how could he have such a powerful power? Even if he did not belong to a world, he would not allow himself to be so unbearable in front of a nephew-level existence. "I am going to kill you." With a roar, Raditz suddenly took out a bright red fruit at this moment. Then, without hesitation, he put the fruit into his mouth and ate it. Gumbling. With the entrance of the fruit, the aura around Raditz instantly became violent. Hoo-ho! The roar like a wild beast came from his mouth, and it could be seen that his body had grown to a height of more than 3 meters at a speed visible to the naked eye. Immediately afterwards, the red hair around Raditz grew longer, and his face also looked like a beast. At this moment, Raditz's breath has reached the point where it is infinitely close to the 11th order. Give me death. With a roar, Raditz attacked Son Gohan without hesitation. Seeing this situation, Son Gohan was surprised, but he didn't have any fear at the moment, and immediately raised his fist to meet him. With a loud bang, Son Gohan's figure was directly thrown out by a punch. Immediately afterwards, Raditz laughed and continued to attack Sun Wu 387 fan. "What's the situation? Have you become so much stronger all at once?" For a time, both Son Goku and Zhai Kou couldn't help but look sideways. No one expected that Raditz would suddenly become so much stronger after eating a piece of fruit. Moreover, the combat power of less than 11th rank was able to explode with power surpassing Son Gohan, and he directly knocked him out. "What is that?" Bupa also frowned, then looked at Nappa and said, "What kind of fruit did Raditz eat before?" That thing. Bupa looked extremely familiar, but he wasn't sure if it was real. Spiritual fruit. Faced with the question, Nappa on the ground spoke with jealousy. He didn't expect Raditz to have such a thing in his hand, and he became so much stronger all at once. Subconsciously, Nappa clenched his fists tightly, gritted his teeth and said, "Vegeta, you are too partial. such a baby would give Raditz that chaos and not give me spiritual fruit. Sure enough, after listening to Nappa's remarks, Bupa was completely enlightened at the moment. Immediately afterwards, he couldn't help but frown slightly. What level of spiritual fruit can reach such a level? You must know that the spiritual fruit seeds in his hands cannot breed such a large-scale spiritual fruit. Chapter 454, The Secret of Spiritual Fruit, Zhai Kou vs Vegeta. Where did your spiritual fruit come from? Subconsciously, Bupa asked. A spiritual fruit that can make Raditz's combat power from the mid-level 10 to the level 11, which is too powerful. If such a spiritual fruit really exists, then if you get it and plant it in batches, doesn't it mean that the artificial Saiyan under his command is supernatural every minute? Opening his mouth, Nappa hesitated. But soon, he seemed to have thought of something, and a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. Vegeta got it. 35. It's just that there are not many of these fruits anymore. It was only after Vegeta sacrificed the entire Supreme Kai world that such a god spirit fruit was planted. But the number of the fruit was only about 5. We each ate one, and the other 2 were in Vegeta's hands. I thought Vegeta kept it for himself, but I never thought he would give it to Raditz. Speaking of which, Nappa's eyes were full of unwillingness. After all, in terms of strength and potential, he is above Raditz, and he doesn't understand why Vegeta is willing to give things to Raditz instead of himself. Absorb the Supreme Kai world? Only 5 can be born. After listening to Nappa's story, Bupa couldn't help frowning. If that's the case, then it really doesn't make any sense. Although such spiritual fruits are of good value, they are not of much value compared to the Supreme Kai world. The main thing is that the number of such spiritual fruits is too small. It would be absolutely stupid to abandon the Supreme Kai world in order to create 5 powerhouses. After all, the cultivation conditions in the Supreme Kai world are almost the best in the entire universe. In the practice, it only takes a few years for Saiyan to reach at least the 7th or 8th level of combat effectiveness. If so, why abandon the Supreme Kai world? Thinking of this, Bupa flashed a look of disappointment in his eyes and said, "This information is of little value. This spiritual fruit of yours has quite a few drawbacks and is meaningless." As Bupa said, this spiritual fruit has drawbacks, such as the current Raditz. It seems that the strength has improved, but in fact, he has fallen into the stage of runaway. Obviously, Raditz cannot master it in a short period of time, and there may even be a risk of life and death. Vegeta, your next opponent is mine. At this time, Zhai Kou's figure appeared in the area in front of Vegeta. His eyes were fixed on Vegeta. His eyes were full of cold light and murderous intent. For the immediate Vegeta, he didn't have any favorability, especially after seeing Vegeta attacking Bupa before. His inner anger and the murderous intention were even stronger. After all, he is an existence loyal to Bupa, and now someone dares to take action against Bupa, which means that the latter is really fighting against them. Just you? However, Vegeta glanced at Zhai Kou disapprovingly at the moment, and then said, "I admit that your strength is not bad, but it is impossible to be the opponent of this prince. Go back, let the strongest in your universe be my opponent." Saying that, Vegeta's eyes subconsciously looked at Bupa not far away. Although Bupa never shot, Vegeta could see that the latter seemed to be the most powerful one. Although Zhai Kou also felt a strong aura, he naturally didn't want to waste time compared to fighting against the strongest. "It's up to you." 35. However, at this moment, Zhai Kou smiled coldly. Up to now, he didn't care about the contempt of Vegeta's words at all, and it was even a little funny. "Just because you Vegeta wants to let Lord Bupa take action, it's just killing yourself." The over-the-top guy, with a flash of murderous intent in his eyes, Zhai Kou said coldly, "Just because you are not worthy to be Lord Bupa's opponent, you are not worthy to let Lord Bupa shoot. Now I'm going to make you understand how ridiculous your own behavior is." Having said that, Zhai Kou no longer hesitated, and rushed forward to attack. The next second, Zhai Kou's fist appeared in the area in front of Vegeta's eyes. Caught death. Seeing this situation, Vegeta's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and immediately dodged to the side. However, before he could completely avoid the attack, Zhai Kou's fist also quietly accelerated. The next second, Zhai Kou's fist hit Vegeta's body. With a loud bang, Vegeta was knocked out instantly. Smashed to the ground, Vegeta's mouth immediately came out with a muffled sound. "Impossible. This is impossible." This scene immediately made Nappa and Raditz couldn't help exclaiming. You know, they all know how powerful Vegeta is. But what about now? Even such a powerful Vegeta was injured, and was even suppressed by Zhai Kou at once. Who is this man? How can it be so powerful? With this thought in his head, Raditz fended off Son Gohan's attack and said, "What the hell is going on here?" 5. Who is this guy? Hearing this, a trace of complexity flashed in Son Gohan's eyes. "I thought I was strong enough, at least able to fight Zhai Kou. But from the current situation, it seems that he is naive. This Zhai Kou's power has become even more powerful, and it is not even comparable to him at all. He's my brother." Taking a deep breath, Son Gohan continued to attack Raditz. His expression changed a bit, but I really didn't expect that Vegeta would be so vulnerable. "What? Your brother?" Hearing this, whole new O's, Raditz was dumbfounded. He never imagined that the mighty Zhai Kou would be Son Gohan's younger brother. That means, this guy is also Kakarot's child and his own nephew. Subconsciously, Raditz said, how is it possible? How can the kid that guy Kakarot be so powerful? It's not just that he doesn't believe it, but Nappa is no exception. Whether it was Vegeta being suppressed or Zhai Kou being a mere inferior Saiyan child, he couldn't accept it. Damn. At this moment, Vegeta's angry roar resounded. Looking at the sound, it can be seen that its figure suddenly jumped out of the ground, and appeared in the midair area in just a few breaths. Immediately afterwards, Vegeta stared at Zhai Kou's place, gritted his teeth and said, "You bastard, you have completely angered this prince. Since you are courting death like this, then this prince will fulfill you." Chapter 455 Super 5 Vegeta, Death of Raditz. Add ***. While speaking, Vegeta let out a loud shout, accompanied by the crimson aura spewing out. It can be seen that the crimson hair around his body has emerged, and it has become a Super 4 form. In an instant, Vegeta's breath grew, and immediately reached the level of 11th order perfection. After all this was done, Vegeta looked murderously at Zhai Kou not far away and said, "Give me death." Saying that, Vegeta rushed out and attacked Zhai Kou. Good coming. 35. Seeing this situation, Zhai Kou was not afraid at all. In the face of the attacking figure, the whole person immediately turned into a Super 4 with a loud shout. Immediately afterwards, Zhai Kou also came forward to fight with Vegeta. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The next second, the two figures fought together. But it can be seen that the current Vegeta is obviously not Zhai Kou's opponent. In the same situation of displaying the Super 4 state, Zhai Kou's power is obviously stronger, and it is not even Vegeta's ability to compete. Incredible. It was unbelievable. 55. Seeing this scene, Nappa on the ground was stunned, and the whole person looked horrified. It's actually stronger than Vegeta. How can a child of a mere inferior soldier surpass Vegeta? Bupa, is this guy the strongest in your universe? 390. In this scene, Nappa had to think wildly. Zhai Kou's strength was really terrifying, which made him feel terrified and appalled. Add the strongest? Glancing at Nappa, Bupa said indifferently, "You think he will be stronger than me?" Hearing this, Nappa was dumbfounded. He wasn't an idiot. How could he not hear what Bupa's words meant at this moment? That is to say, Zhai Kou is not the strongest. The most powerful should be Bupa in the area next to him. How is this possible? 35. Subconsciously opened his mouth. Nappa's eyes were full of despair. He knew that it was impossible for him to live, and there was no possibility of escape at all. After all, Zhai Kou's strength is no longer comparable to him, let alone the more powerful Bupa. Hey, what a joke. Raditz is even more exaggerated with his mouth wide open in disbelief. He couldn't believe what he saw, and even felt unbelievable from the bottom of his heart. After all, in such a situation, there are many things that make people feel incredible. Seeing that Vegeta was suppressed in the Super 4, his inner unease has reached the extreme. Nothing is impossible. However, Son Gohan's cold humming resounded at this time. The next second, it could be seen that his figure appeared in the area beside Raditz, who was absent-minded. Without seeming hesitation, Son Gohan punched directly into Raditz's stomach. The screams resounded, and Raditz, who was caught off guard, was directly beaten and vomited blood. Under such circumstances, Son Gohan did not seem to hesitate, and launched an attack frantically and continued to attack Raditz. For a time, Raditz was reduced to a living target, being beaten back and forth in midair. "Vegeta, save me." Seeing that his state was getting worse and worse, Raditz panicked completely. He is very clear that he has lost his resistance now, and even Son Gohan can't give him any possibility of fighting back. But death like this is definitely something Raditz doesn't want to face, so he can only hope for Vegeta. Idiot. Stupid. Seeing this situation, Vegeta, who was not far away, suddenly turned as cold as frost. It was a bit difficult for him to face Zhai Kou's attack now, and Raditz dared to make trouble for himself at this time. For a time, Vegeta resisted the urge to kill him personally, and looked at Zhai Kou, who was attacking, and said, "You bastard. You have completely angered this prince. Don't think that this is the full power of this prince." 35. With a low drink, Vegeta's whole body was brightly white, and at this moment, the whole person transformed into a state of Super Saiyan5. After doing all this, Vegeta slammed out a punch, directly knocking Zhai Kou, who was attacking, into the air. Super Saiyan5. This scene immediately aroused the exclamation of everyone in the audience except Bupa, including Nappa, and Raditz is no exception. No one would have thought that Vegeta would have such a hand, and it seemed to be so powerful. For a time, Raditz was overjoyed and with difficulty resisting Son Gohan's attack. He laughed and said, "You are all dead. You all have to die." 35. Vegeta has completed the transformation of Super Saiyan5, you can't be its opponent. 99. 66.99. Hearing this, Son Gohan pouted. Super 5? If this is invincible in the world, then Zhai Kou is too underestimated. You must know that Zhai Kou has already completed the Super 5 before, and even after learning the power of God, his own power has reached a higher level, and he may even have mastered the Super Ace God. Thinking of this, Son Gohan immediately said, Uncle, don't be too happy. 35. Add, it's just over 5, so will Zhai Kou. 35. What? Hearing this, Raditz was dumbfounded, looking at Son Gohan in disbelief. This is impossible. This. However, at the moment when Raditz lost his mind, Son Gohan also seized the opportunity and shot him to the ground with a sharp punch. After doing all this, Son Gohan slammed his hands together and exclaimed, Clame. 35. Clame card. In the next second, a huge Kamehameha wave fell from the sky, heading straight for Raditz on the ground. No. When the death crisis struck, Raditz was completely panicked. But at this moment, he was unable to move, watching the Ki blast attack, without even any possibility of dodging. The next second, the Kamehameha wave fell on Raditz's body. Rumbling, a deafening roar resounded, and it could be clearly seen that Raditz's body was annihilated at a speed visible to the naked eye under the attack of the Kamehameha wave. With the screams stopped abruptly, Raditz was completely destroyed. Not even a trace of dust was left. Gudu. Seeing this, Nappa couldn't help swallowing. Died. That Raditz, who was stronger than himself after eating the spirit fruit, actually died just like that. At this moment, he couldn't help trembling, and he was extremely afraid in his heart. Even vaguely feel that today's events cannot end like this, and even Vegeta may die here. Chapter 456. Add. Nothing is impossible. Glancing at Nappa, Bupa said indifferently, it's up to you next. 95. After speaking, Bupa waved his hand, and a Qui-Gong bullet attacked Nappa directly. No. When death struck, Nappa looked at the Qui-Gong bomb in despair, looked aside subconsciously and said, Vegeta, save me. However, minus reality is cruel. In just an instant, the Qui-Gong bomb destroyed it, and there was no chance of survival. Seeing this situation, everyone present was startled, and looked at Bupa subconsciously, their eyes full of surprise. They didn't expect that Bupa would shoot so quickly, or even kill with one hit. Okay. 35. In response, Bupa waved his hand and said silently, get rid of it as soon as possible. I don't have the intention to play with it anymore. Yes. Hearing this, Zhai Kou and the others came back to their senses as if they had just woken up from a dream. Without any hesitation, he immediately increased his attack speed. In just a dozen breaths, Vegeta died tragically under the siege of Son Gohan and Zhai Kou. After all this was done, the group quickly came to Bupa's side and said, Uncle, what should we do next? Uncle, what should we do next? Hearing this, Bupa glanced at the two of them, and the corner of his mouth raised. No need to do anything. You can leave it to me next. Add. It's time for some things to end. After speaking, Bupa's thoughts immediately disappeared from the spot. The next second, Bupa's figure appeared in his own world. Looking at the countless artificial Saiyans that have been successfully built, he immediately said, it's up to you next. It's time for the final step of ascension. After that, Bupa no longer hesitated, and quickly started the cultivation of these artificial Saiyan. Over time, the power of a man-made Saiyan increases. In a short period of time, the power of a man-made Saiyan has reached the 8th rank, or even the 9th rank. Under such circumstances, Bupa's power also soared rapidly. Especially under the blessing of the system, Bupa's strength continued to improve, and soon reached the Grand Priest level. In such a situation, the universes are constantly broken and destroyed. Without Bupa's power to dominate and balance, this also led to the continuous spread of dark power. This also led to the destruction of the main universes by darkness, and countless creatures died tragically. But all this Bupa has no intention of participating. Directly take Son Gohan and others to continuously cultivate and become stronger within their own universe. As time passed, the angel family also began to die. Not even the Grand Priest was killed by the dark adversary. Even Zeno was seriously injured under the constant onslaught of darkness. But none of this has anything to do with Bupa. Originally planned to save the main universe, but he finally chose to solve everything as quickly as possible. Add. 10 years later, only the 6th and 7th universes are left with the complete destruction of the main universe. However, the people of these two universes have also been desperate at this moment. In desperation, all of them came to Bupa's universe for help. However, the reality is cruel. Their help Bupa did not pay any attention, but continued to cultivate the strength of Broly, Son Gohan and others. But for the people of the 6th universe and 7th universe, Bupa still accepted their existence. Let them all live in their own universe world, which can be regarded as avoiding the invasion of darkness. Under such circumstances, it took another 3 years for Zeno's universe to be destroyed. This also caused Zeno's ultimate power to disappear, and he was brutally killed directly by the Dark People. 0 for Flowers 0. With Zeno's death, the entire darkness swept through countless multiverse universes at this moment, and the Justice League created by Bupa also began to grow stronger. As more and more powerhouses appeared, the final duel also broke out. One by one, people from darkness entered the world, and Son Goku, Son Gohan and others also quickly began to fight against it. Under such circumstances, a protracted battle broke out. Plus # 20 years, 30 years. Add. For 30 years, the whole world has been riddled with holes, and all Son Gohan and the others have reached the level of Grand Priest. 0. But in this case, it is still difficult to low grade. But on this day, Bupa went out with him. With Bupa's exit, a force beyond Zeno, even the great Zeno, poured out of him. For a while, Bupa immediately began to act. Under his attack, countless Dark World powerhouses died. With his horizontal push, all the darkness in the multiverse universe was eliminated. In just 10 years, the multiverse universe that was invaded by darkness has been restored to its original state. Although the existence of life has completely disappeared, the darkness has also been eliminated. Under such circumstances, Bupa took Broly and others into the Dark World. With the horizontal push all the way, the powerhouses in the Dark World are constantly being killed. In the end, they finally reached the area where the original demon, the strongest man in the Dark Bible, was located. Without the slightest hesitation, Bupa and the original demon started a final battle. After 10 years of fierce fighting, the battle between the two came to an end. Bupa kills the original demon at a heavy price. So far, the crisis in the world has completely ended. Bupa successfully mastered the Dark World and the multiverse universe, and became the supreme and only god. 7. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, link is in the description. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.